Warrior Lore. Chapter 3767. In the sky, rays of light flashed and one existence after another appeared. The aura of empty soul and real soul surged violently in the sky, bringing with it a strong pressure. Shanya flew towards the sky. She was only at the soul void realm. An existence who was also at the soul void realm dived down after appearing from the passageway. Shanya's body lit up. It was just a soul light without any power attribute. When the other party saw this scene, a disdainful sneer appeared at the corner of his mouth. Obviously, he had not even found his own power. Of course, his combat power would not be that strong. His body surged with a fiery aura. He had already found his own power. The two of them were about to meet, and their powers were about to touch. At this moment, a strong aura suddenly flowed out of Shanya's body. It still did not have the attribute of soul power, but the aura became incomparably fierce. The expression of the soul void realm changed. He felt a strong threat from that aura. A ray of light lit up in front of him, but he changed from attack to defense. A bright light shield appeared in front of him. The strength of the other party would be revealed very soon. Chi. The two of them separated upon contact. The fierce ray of light that appeared from Shanya's palm disappeared instantly. The body of the soul void realm froze. Shanya stood behind him. The two of them crossed each other's bodies. The defensive light on the soul void realm's body had already shattered. A thin red mark appeared on his neck. His eyes were wide open, filled with disbelief. His defense was actually broken down in an instant. What kind of power was that? The luster in his eyes dimmed, and he lost all his vitality. Shanya destroyed the enemy with one blow. That was a power called nothing. It was also Shanya's own attribute power. It was rare in the world, and could even be said to be one of a kind. The reason why she could find this kind of power was thanks to the jade slip she got from the Lan family's treasure vault. It could be said that it was tailor-made for Shanya, just like the black jade slip for Zichun, only she could use it. This heaven-blessed who came from the Card Tower world showed her ability for the first time in this world. Fully aware of the current situation, Shanya did not hold back in the slightest when she attacked. Then, she brushed past the second soul void realm expert. In front of Shanya, the opponent's soul power defense was like paper. Her attack instantly tore through the defense and landed on the opponent's body. Blood splattered everywhere. Another soul void realm expert died. On the other side, Lan Hongyi was wearing battle armor and wielding a battle sword. She looked like a war goddess as she charged at the soul true realm expert in the air. That battle armor was the one she had obtained from the treasury previously. Its killing power was astonishing, and the soul true realm expert was sent flying with a single slash. This battle was of utmost importance. If they couldn't defeat them before the passage closed, then everyone would have to stay here forever. Lan Rue was also fighting against a soul realm expert. Powerful energy kept surging. At this moment, everyone was using their full strength. A streak of light streaked past Zichun, heading towards the sky. It was the soul weapon that Lan Gumeng obtained last time. Like a bolt of lightning, it swept past the chest of a soul void realm expert, piercing through. This existence whose heart was pierced immediately lost his life force, and his body fell to the ground. Looking at the scene in the sky, Zichun was a little surprised. Clearly, he didn't expect that after no longer hiding, everyone's strength would be so powerful. Everyone had already made their move. Of course, he couldn't fall behind. His figure immediately soared into the sky, heading straight for a soul true realm expert. Boom! Violent energy surged. That soul true realm expert was sent flying by Zichun's punch. Powerful energy fluctuations swept through the sky. Zichun's figure flashed and chased up, landing another punch. Soul shock art. Layers of soul power ripples surged into the opponent's body, producing a powerful shock force, causing the soul power that the soul true realm expert had just condensed to be scattered again. And Zichun followed like a shadow. With a cold gaze, he punched out again. The third punch. Soul destruction. The powerful energy was like a torrent, surging into the opponent's body, destroying his life force. When his body crashed to the ground, his surging life force had already dissipated. 3 punches had killed a soul true realm expert. Such a powerful battle strength caused the hearts of the enemies on the battlefield to be shocked. However, the battle didn't stop because of this. Several holy talismans flew towards Zichun. Pa, pa. The holy talismans exploded in the air and flew out like lightning, heading straight for his body. Looking at these incoming attacks, Zichun also used the holy talisman to form a defense and then rushed forward. After rushing out of the attack range, Zichun's defense was also broken. He rushed towards the second Soul True Realm expert. When this Soul True Realm expert saw Zichun's arrival, his expression changed slightly, but he didn't panic. Instead, he immediately retreated. During this time, a holy talisman landed on his leg, causing his speed to increase significantly. Immediately after, he threw out several more Saint talismans. One attack after another fell from the sky, blocking Zichun's path. After shattering several attacks in a row, Zichun turned around and left. That guy was clearly a descender and should have many holy talismans on him. It wouldn't be easy to catch up and kill him in a short period of time. In comparison, Zichun was more willing to fight with the natives of this world. That kind of fist-to-flesh attack could determine life and death in an extremely short period of time. Seeing Zichun retreat, the Soul True Realm expert smiled slightly. He didn't retreat just like that. Instead, he moved forward again and launched another attack at Zichun. These attacks weren't enough to kill Zichun, but it wasn't a problem to delay him for a while. He knew very well how many experts had been dispatched for this mission. Therefore, as long as he delayed for a while, more experts would descend here. A holy talisman spread out and formed a defense around Zichun, blocking an attack that descended from the sky. He ignored the constant harassment of the holy talisman master. Right now, he had to seize the time and kill some Soul True Realm experts first. Otherwise, the pressure on everyone would increase. On Shan Yu's side, he, who possessed powerful killing power, had already been targeted by a Soul True Realm expert. Both Nuaya and Lan Gumming had also encountered extremely difficult opponents. Lan Hongyi's opponent had gone from 1 to 2. She was currently being besieged. It was the same on Lan Rue's side. There were 2 people who were also proficient in soul power working together to restrain him. His illusion techniques were clearly countered by the 2 of them. The battle was currently very unfavorable for them. In the sky, there was still an endless stream of experts coming in from the passage. Zichun, who was rapidly approaching the enemy, had an increasingly ugly expression. There were too many enemies. At this moment, the sky suddenly trembled, and even the passage trembled slightly. Immediately after, the aura of the human soul realm surged out. Chapter 3768. As soon as the aura of the human soul realm was released, Zichun and the others fell into despair. Not to mention escaping through the passage, they might not even be able to keep their lives. Let's go. Zichun decisively gave up chasing the target and turned to leave. Now that they were about to lose their lives, who would care about the passage? It seemed that when people were at their most desperate, they would always make the choice to give up their bottom line. For example, they came here for the opportunity of the ferry, but after discovering that they were trapped, they all became depressed and did not care about the opportunity at all. After seeing the passage appear, they could give up everything and decisively choose to leave. But now that their lives were in danger, they made the choice again. Compared to dying on the spot immediately, it seemed that being trapped here was not so unacceptable. If they could choose, they would rather these people not appear and this place remain peaceful. Unfortunately, there was no such choice. The 6 of them began to flee without hesitation like 6 bolts of lightning. But this time, what surprised Zichun was that even after running 100 feet, the pursuers behind them were still there, which was obviously different from his previous experience. This made Zichun's expression change. With a flash of light in front of him, he took out the transmission talisman that he had prepared long ago. Buzz. The transmission talisman was activated, and a light enveloped the 6 of them. But when they disappeared, a powerful force suddenly invaded. It was the human soul realm expert. But his reaction was still a little too late, and Zichun and the others had already disappeared. The light dissipated, and looking at the empty space ahead, the human soul realm expert smiled faintly and said, "They're not far away. Chase them." The group of powerful existences chased in the direction that the human soul realm expert was pointing. With a flash of light, Zichun and the others reappeared. The transmission had been destroyed, so the transmission distance was shortened by a lot. As soon as they appeared, their faces turned pale. "Let's keep going," Zichun said in a deep voice while looking into the distance. At this moment, there seemed to be an inexplicable light flickering in his eyes. Lan Hongyi took out a transmission talisman, which was flowing with light. Obviously, she was going to activate it and leave. At this moment, Zichun reached out and grabbed her wrist, stopping her. "Don't waste it for now. Let's go straight ahead." Lan Hongyi stared at Zichun and said discontentedly, "You're still thinking of saving at a time like this?" Zichun let go of the other's wrist and said, "They're trouble after all. We can't keep running like this. We have to think of a way to get rid of them." Lan Hongyi immediately guessed Zichun's intention. Her eyes lit up. "What do you mean? That's our only chance." However, the human soul realm cultivators behind us are also there. Without using the teleportation formation, we have to run at full speed. Zichun's goal this time was to bring all those people to the space where the man in the bamboo hat appeared. That was the only place where they could turn the tables. And in that place, the number of men in bamboo hats would increase as the number of people increased. While Zichun increased his speed, the pursuers behind him were also giving chase at a steady pace. Among them, a saint symbol master gazed at the faintly discernible figure in front of him as a smile involuntarily rose from the corners of his mouth. "I never imagined that you would have such a day." Beside him was another Saint Talisman Master. When he heard this, he also laughed. "He really does look like a stray dog." This time, in order to deal with Zichun, the Ghost King had sent out a total of 10 Soul True Realm cultivators and more than 20 Soul Void Realm cultivators. Putting those Soul Void Realm cultivators aside, among the Soul True Realm cultivators, there were 2 descenders who were specially used to counter Zichun. There were also 3 people with extremely strong soul power attainments who were used to deal with the Lan family's Lan Rue. As for the Soul True Realm cultivator called Lan Hongyi, there were also people who were specially assigned to deal with her. It could be said that they had already obtained enough information. The combat power they sent out was enough to kill Zichun's group. Before they came, the order they received was that except for a person called Shanya, everyone else had to die. This included the successor of the Lan family. Of course, this did not include the human soul realm cultivators at the back. It could be said that this was a sure-kill situation. Zichun's group would definitely die. There was no suspense. "Hutai, isn't our speed a little too slow?" On the other side, a Soul True Realm cultivator said, "Shouldn't we catch up and kill the enemy in one go?" The descender named Hutai said with a smile, "What's the hurry? Don't you think this scene is very interesting? They are being chased like stray dogs. This is very rare. The mission is the most important." The Soul True Realm cultivator in charge of suppressing Lan Rue said in a deep voice, "Don't worry, the mission must be completed. It's just that Zichun is extremely cunning, much more cunning than you think. We must not split up. As long as everyone continues to chase like this, they can only die." Hutai said, taking a step back, "Even if we chase until our strength is exhausted, they won't be any better. In this way, we have the advantage of numbers. Killing them will be as easy as flipping our hands." "Are we just going to keep following like this?" The other party was clearly still somewhat unwilling. "What else can we do?" Hutai said with a smile, "Xioma, why don't you go to the back and find that lord and discuss with him? Let him use some methods to directly eliminate those guys. Wouldn't that save us a lot of trouble?" The Soul True Realm cultivator named Xioma snorted. His lord had already made a move once, so it was impossible for him to make a move now. As a human soul realm cultivator, he was only here to provide support and prevent accidents from happening. Unless it was absolutely necessary, he would not make a move. After all, a human soul realm cultivator was already a king of a region. He still needed to maintain some face. "Everyone, hurry up. We can't let them run so easily. We must turn them into stray dogs." The corners of Hutai's mouth curled up into a smile. "Zichun, I'll definitely publicize your magnificent feat when we get back." At that time, I'll let the entire Sacred Thunder tribe know that a stray dog like you doesn't have the qualifications to participate in the core assessment." The chase continued like this. When they were about to be caught, Zichun used the transportation charm again. The human soul realm cultivator who had not made a move all this time interfered with them again, preventing them from shaking off the others. However, this was also the result that Zichun had always wanted. Therefore, after several hours of chasing, Zichen's group of 6 finally arrived at the designated place. This time, they did not continue forward but stopped. He immediately turned around and faced the pursuers. Hutai, who quickly caught up, changed his expression slightly and slowed down his speed. Zichun said coldly, "Reckless fools, how dare you chase us here? Since you can't wait to die, I'll fulfill your wish." Zichun raised his hand and shouted, "Where are the reinforcements?" Hutai's heart tightened, and he immediately looked around. The others did the same. Longu Ming, Noah, and Shanya, who were standing behind Zichun, quietly took a few steps back. 6 beams of light descended from the sky and turned into 6 men in bamboo hats. 3 empty soul realm experts and 3 real soul realm experts came forward. Chapter 3769. Hutai's expression was abnormally ugly. He clearly did not expect Zichun to have such a trump card. Fortunately, there were only 6 reinforcements. It was not a large number, so it was still acceptable. At this moment, Zichen's group was also charging forward, but they did not meet up with the 6 people. If one looked carefully, they would quickly discover some clues. It was just that Hutai and the others had a preconceived notion that the 6 people were on Zichen's side. Hutai waved his hand and said coldly, "Leave no one alive." The murderous crowd quickly rushed forward and spread out in all directions, preparing to surround and attack the 12 people. In terms of numbers, they had an absolute advantage. Hutai took a step forward and holy talismans flew out from his body. The holy talismans shattered in the sky, forming a powerful attack that poured down. In the face of these attacks, Zichun did not dodge. A holy talisman also appeared above his head, forming a defensive light formation that enveloped them. In an instant, many attacks fell. Zichen's huge defensive light barrier began to distort. Energy rumbled as powerful fluctuations constantly spread out. On the other side, the others had already launched attacks on the 6 people in bamboo hats. In the face of such a powerful attack, the people in bamboo hats were constantly retreating. The crowd followed closely, clearly not planning to let anyone go. Unexpectedly, at this moment, more light fell from the sky. This time, it was not just 1 or 2, but dozens. Among these people, there were a total of 10 people in the soul realm. The rest were all soul illusions. They all wore bamboo hats and their expressions were cold. Such an unforeseen event caused everyone to be stunned. Even the expression of the human soul stage expert in the distance changed. Damn it! Why are there so many reinforcements? Hutai could not help but curse. This scene was far beyond his expectations. At this moment, a loud rumble came from the front. It was Zichun charging out of the violent energy and flying towards him. Knowing how powerful Zichun was, Hutai immediately retreated, not forgetting to increase his speed. At this moment, the surroundings were already in a chaotic battle. Hutai's people were already fighting with the people in bamboo hats. What should we do now? Lan Rue asked in a deep voice. Zichun looked around and said, "Let's retreat first." As he spoke, Zichun threw out dozens of sacred talismans. He was a sacred talisman master himself, so he naturally wouldn't forget this. The holy talisman shattered in the sky and turned into giant arms. They descended from the sky and launched attacks in all directions, sending many people flying. Taking advantage of the energy tremors, Zichun's group of 6 took advantage of the chaos to escape. Don't kill them, just injure them. While moving forward, Zichun arrived in front of a soul void realm expert. With a single palm strike, he sent that expert flying towards those bamboo hat men. Then, he swiftly moved forward. Longrue and the others also followed suit, although they didn't know what Zichun's intention was. The group of people took advantage of the chaos and successfully escaped from the battlefield, running towards the depths. "Stop them! Don't let them escape!" Hutai shouted loudly. However, at this moment, everyone was busy with their own affairs. Naturally, they did not have the ability to stop the other party. Helpless, Hutai could only turn around and bow towards the sky. Sir, please stop them for a moment. After I've dealt with the matters here, I'll go and kill them. A powerful aura descended. Immediately after, a figure of light flew forward. It was the human soul realm expert. The other party was prepared to stop Zichen's group of 6, who knew that at this moment, another aura of the same level would appear. Another bamboo hat man descended from the sky. Sensing the aura around the other party, everyone's expression changed greatly. No one could have expected that Zichen's side was actually hiding such a powerful ally. The two human soul realm experts began to fight. After successfully escaping from the group, Zichen signaled for everyone to speed up. Why don't we just kill them directly? Longrui asked in confusion. This should be our best chance, right? Zichen shook his head and said, No, our best chance is next time. The bamboo hat men that appeared this time did not have strong battle prowess. They will quickly deal with them. Moreover, without knowing the situation, they will attack without holding back. Therefore, the next time they appear, their battle prowess will be much stronger. Longrui said, But this way, they will be on guard. It will be impossible for us to catch them off guard. Zichen said, They will indeed be on guard. However, they don't know the layout of this place. Naturally, they won't know that we are going in circles. Therefore, we need to make full use of the time. We need to let them catch up to us during the 24 hours. 24 hours later, Zichen's group would arrive at their current location, which would be the time when the bamboo hat men would appear for the second time. At that time, everyone's life and death would be decided. After using all their strength, the battle quickly came to an end. These bamboo hat men seemed to be unable to withstand a single blow. Hutai stared at the messy battlefield, his face somewhat ashen. Beside him, Xiaomo, who was slightly injured, said in a low voice, This guy is truly crafty. I didn't expect him to have such allies. Hutai said with a gloomy face, Perhaps they are not allies. What do you mean? Xiaomo was somewhat puzzled. Hutai stared ahead. There, two human souls were still fighting. The experts on their side had already suppressed the bamboo hat men. Recalling the bamboo hat men's appearance, Hutai said, If they really had so many allies, they wouldn't have appeared several times. This should be a test, and a test for everyone. What, a test? Xiaomo was taken aback. Then, he reacted with an angry expression and said, Damned guy. I was wondering why it was so coincidental that the enemies who appeared were of the same level as us. Hutai said, It's not that they are of the same level. Not only are they of the same level, but they also have the same number of people. The 6 people who appeared first were not allies. They should be the enemies of Zichen's group. It's just that we didn't know and were used. So, we were killed with a borrowed knife, Xiaomo said angrily. Sort of. But fortunately, we didn't suffer any losses, so it's just a little bit of trouble. Now that the trouble has been dealt with, it's time for them to die. Looking at the battle between the human souls still going on in the sky, he said in a low voice, Everyone, follow me. Everyone quickly followed. Some of those who were injured began to treat their wounds halfway through the journey. The chase lasted for several hours, but Hutai still couldn't find any trace of Zichen. Could he have run away? Xiaomo said worriedly, This is the grassland. There is no end to it. Where can they run to? We wasted a lot of time in the previous battle. They must have run far away. But as long as we keep chasing, we will definitely catch up to them. Sure enough, after a few hours, they finally saw Zichen's figure. Even though it was just a black dot, it still made everyone extremely excited. Everyone, follow me quickly. Hutai shouted coldly and rushed forward. Kill. Chapter 3770. Compared to Hutai, who had rushed over in a hurry, Zichen and the others had finished their work once and for all. Everyone had already recovered to their peak condition while they were waiting for the others. Thus, a smile appeared at the corner of his mouth when he heard the battle cries behind him. He raised his head to look at the path ahead and said, We should speed up so that they won't be wary. Because he knew the exact location, Zichun could use his own speed to estimate when they would be caught and when the bamboo hat men would appear. Hutai became even more pleased when he saw Zichun increase his speed. Clearly, this was no longer a trap, because Zichun had stopped in the previous trap. Soul power surged, and one figure after another streaked across the sky. Everyone was very fast, and the distance between the two sides was getting closer and closer. Hutai could even see the panicked expressions on their faces, and he became even more pleased with himself as he laughed heartily. Zichun, today is the day you die. At this moment, Zichun suddenly turned around, and there was a mocking look in his eyes. Are you sure? Today is the day I die, and not yours? Hutai was shocked when he saw the change in Zichun's expression. Was he plotting against him again? However, when he saw that the 5 people still didn't stop, he shouted, "Are you trying to trick me? Don't let them escape. Don't let a single one of them go today." The people behind didn't stop at all and whistled forward. Now that the two sides had met, they naturally wouldn't rest until one of them was dead. Zichun's mocking expression froze. This time, it was Hutai's turn to express his disdain. He coldly said, "Do you think I'll fall for the same trick twice?" Zichun turned around and left decisively. Hutai laughed loudly. Zichun was an idiot. He actually wanted to scare him. If he was really scared, wouldn't he let him escape again? However, his laughter quickly came to an abrupt end, because light figures appeared in front of him again, one after another. These light figures were all bamboo hat men, and there was a powerful aura surging around them. When they appeared, Zichun and the other 5 who were charging forward immediately turned back. Kill without mercy. Zichun's cold voice rang out, and the surrounding temperature seemed to drop significantly. At this moment, Zichun was truly filled with murderous intent. Kill. Hutai's face was filled with anger. He never thought that he would be tricked again. However, he was not afraid because those conical hat men could not even withstand a single blow. They had many people, so they could still completely destroy them. Only after facing these bamboo hat men did Hutai realize that this was not the case. The bamboo hat men that appeared this time were much stronger than he had imagined. What made Hutai even more depressed was that these bamboo hat men seemed to be Zichun's allies. As soon as they appeared, they attacked his people. In fact, it wasn't that the man in the bamboo hat wanted to help Zichun. It was just that Hutai had too many people, so he naturally went to them first. A chaotic battle broke out. Shanya utilized the power of nothing and clashed with a soul void realm. It was like they had met their nemesis. In front of the supreme power, the soul void realm could not unleash the strength they should have and was instantly defeated. In the next moment, the soul void realm died. On the other side, Noah, who had found his own power, could almost sweep through the soul void realm. It was just that his killing power was much weaker than Shanya's. The soul weapon beside Lan Gu Meng was extremely extraordinary. It was also harvesting the lives of soul void realm experts. Stop them first. Hutai, who was already held back by 2 bamboo hat men, roared angrily. If these 3 guys were allowed to continue killing, then the soul void realm experts this time would probably all die. Immediately, 3 soul void realm experts abandoned the battle and flew towards Shanya's group. Right at this moment, Zichun's figure appeared and blocked one of them. The moment the 2 people's power collided, Zichun's figure retreated, avoiding an attack from behind. The one who launched this attack was the Soul Void Realm Bamboo Hat Man. In front of Zichun, the Soul Void Realm expert was sent flying. Coincidentally, there was also a Soul Void Realm Bamboo Hat Man at the place where he landed. Stabilizing his body, Zichun looked ahead and said with a sneer, "Enjoy this feast?" Nearly 100 holy talismans flew out in front of him. To a Saint Talisman Master, as long as he had a holy talisman, his combat strength would be endless. Right now, there were enemies all around, so he no longer had any scruples. The power of thunder poured down in torrents, bringing with it a vast aura. During this time, there were some huge arms of light that whistled past, sweeping out in all directions. Zichun swam in the vibrating energy, harvesting one life after another. There were enemies and bamboo hat men. In any case, they were all stolen in passing. Blood splattered. An enemy's head flew up. It was a Soul Void Realm expert. Right now, With Zichen's realm, facing a soul void realm expert was completely bullying. But facing such a situation, he clearly could not care about morality. To them, the most important thing right now was to live. Because there were too many soul void realm experts, only by killing them first could they deal with those soul void realm experts with peace of mind. Chi. A sharp light flew out from Zichen's fingertip, cutting open the body of a bamboo hat man who raised his blade at him. As his body was penetrated by the sharp light, the other party's figure dissipated into thin air. The enemies were decreasing. However, Zichen's heart did not relax in the slightest. Instead, it became even heavier. Because with every passing moment, that powerful human soul realm expert might be closer to this place. The only thing that made Zichen somewhat glad was that no matter how fast the other party was, the only thing that affected his arrival was time. Lanrue was stopped by two soul void realm experts, but they were not enemies, but two bamboo hat men. No matter what method Lanrue used, he could not shake them off. Moreover, the two of them even ignored his illusory attacks. It had to be said that this was a very depressing thing. Lan Hongyi held a battle sword in her hand and was also fighting one against two. She, who had the guardian armor, was relying on the defense of the armor to take the initiative to attack. Although she had the upper hand, she was still far from being killed. As the battle dragged on, more and more people died and were injured. Hu Tai's mood also became very heavy. He, who could no longer accept this loss, could only cry for help loudly. "Sir, save me." This sir was naturally a human soul realm expert. Zichen let out a sigh. The situation was already very unfavorable to them. If that human soul realm expert rushed over, they would definitely die. Thus, he took out the unpredictable brush for the first time and began to write in the sky. As the brush fell, the soul power in the sky trembled, and a huge black cloud appeared in the azure sky. Lightning would occasionally appear in the black cloud, and an oppressive aura spread out. Rolling heavenly lightning appeared in the clouds. Heavenly lightning fell, and a spirit python appeared. Heavenly lightning python. Chapter 3771. The moment the sky thunder python appeared, it was like a powerful storm that swept in all directions. Countless grasses were uprooted, and the grass danced wildly on the ground. Rocks and sand flew everywhere. A terrifying pressure swept across the entire area, causing everyone's heart to sink. Such an unforeseen event caused everyone's expression to change drastically. The wind blew, and the whistling sound spread in all directions. The spirit python that was surrounded by lightning swept its tail like lightning. Bang, bang, bang. The python's tail swept across, and several bamboo hat men's bodies exploded, disappearing from the world. At the same time, several enemies fell in the distance, their fates unknown. Then, the spirit python opened its mouth, and a bolt of lightning appeared, striking a soul realm expert. The opponent's hurried defense was instantly broken, and the powerful force sent him flying. The moment the spirit python moved, the world lost its color, sweeping across the entire area. With a simple turn, there were no more enemies around the spirit python. Looking at the spirit python in the sky, Hu Tai was shocked. Of course, he knew about the spirit python. It was the holy talisman art that belonged to Xian Nan. The two of them had sparred before, but he did not expect the spirit python to become so terrifying in Zichen's hands. At this moment, he suddenly felt a chill in his heart. Zichen's gaze had already landed on him. At the same time, the spirit python's cold eyes stared at him. "Zhou Shu." Hu Tai had a bad feeling and suddenly shouted. In another direction, a soul realm expert suddenly sent his opponent flying and took out a holy talisman brush to write in the sky. As the brush fell, the soul power in the sky began to vibrate violently, and in the next moment, a black tiger appeared. The black tiger's body was dozens of feet tall, and after it appeared, it targeted the spirit python. The powerful holy talisman art is not something that only one person has. Since we can come here to deal with you, how can we not have other methods? Zhou Shu looked at Zichen and sneered. "Today, let's see if your sky thunder python or my secluded mountain tiger is stronger." Roar. An earth-shattering roar suddenly sounded, and in another place, another black tiger appeared. It was Zhou Tai's method, and its body was slightly bigger than Zhou Shu's. Two black tigers, one on the left and one on the right, rushed towards the spirit python. The spirit python let out a hiss and shot out bolts of lightning towards the two black tigers. The black tiger's body was huge, but it was extremely agile. It dodged the bolts of lightning in midair and pounced towards the spirit python. Bang! The spirit python's tail swept across and landed on the black tiger's body. A powerful shockwave sent a black tiger flying. As for the other one, it pounced on the spirit python and opened its mouth to bite the spirit python's body. Two tigers and one python began to fight. Seeing that the spirit python was trapped, Hu Tai finally heaved a sigh of relief in his heart. Actually, the spirit python was an existence of the same level as the black tiger, and there was no need to be overly worried. However, Zichen's spirit python seemed to be a little too extraordinary. From the looks of it, everything seemed to be fine. He stared at Zichen with a provocative gaze. The spirit python was indeed very strong, but the two of them together were not weak either. At this moment, the corners of Zichen's mouth curled into a cold smile. His figure flashed as he flew toward Hu Tai. Swish! In another direction, Zhou Shu was also approaching Hu Tai. Before coming here, their goal was to deal with Zichen. During this time, dozens of Saint Talismans appeared and blocked Zichen's path. Saint Talismans also flew out from Zichen's body and shattered one by one in the sky. For a moment, the attacks of Saint Talismans constantly rumbled. This was a confrontation between Saint Talisman masters. The sky was filled with flying Saint Talismans. The terrifying attacks caused many people's expressions to change. This intense battle could also be seen as a money-burning battle because every Saint Talisman used was equivalent to hundreds of blue crystal coins. This battle was like an endless stream of blue crystal coins burning. It shocked everyone and made their hearts ache. Various offensive Saint Talismans and auxiliary Saint Talismans appeared one after another, constantly colliding with each other. Amidst the surging energy, Zichen and the other two were like three streaks of light that rapidly changed directions. This made people sigh in admiration. The Descenders were blessed by the heavens. Zichen and the two Saint Talisman masters were fighting. In other directions, the battles were also continuing. Although these bamboo hat men didn't distinguish between friend and foe, their appearance greatly reduced the pressure on Zichen's group. The originally sure-kill situation was also broken. Soul Shake. An indifferent voice came from the sky. When the Saint Talisman's power surged, Zichen used the power of the soul-binding chain to bind Zhou Shu and punched his chest. The power of vibration entered his body, causing the soul power he had just mobilized to immediately disperse. He coughed out blood and was sent flying, crashing into the ground. He was heavily injured. On the other side, the black tiger that belonged to him let out a roar, and its huge body directly collapsed. One tiger had been defeated. Zhou Shu's expression changed. At this moment, an ice-cold voice sounded from beside him. "Have a safe journey. Be careful." Hu Tai's warning came in time, but it was still a little too late. Zichen's palm landed on Zhou Yu's chest. A powerful soul-destroying power entered Zhou Yu's body and directly extinguished his life force. At this moment, a bolt of lightning landed on Zichen's body and instantly destroyed his Saint Talisman defense. It was Hu Tai's attack. Blood flowed from the corner of Zichen's mouth as his figure disappeared again. Hu Tai's expression changed drastically as he moved horizontally. A sharp light flashed past him. It was Zichen's saber attack. After the first attack missed, the second slash continued. Hu Tai dodged again, and Zichen slashed again. At this moment, the other black tiger was already in danger. After a few breaths, it was swallowed by the spirit python. In the battle between two tigers and one python, the spirit python had won. Following that, the spirit python charged in all directions and began a massacre. Hu Tai, who was constantly dodging and retreating, had a gloomy expression. He really couldn't understand why the Soul Realm powerhouse hadn't appeared yet. And after being schemed against by Zichen again, they had suffered heavy casualties. Puff. Blood splattered as Lan Hongyi killed a Soul Corporeal Realm cultivator with a single slash. Her opponent only managed to leave a shallow mark on her armor. A sharp light also appeared on the folding fan in Lan Rue's hand. The moment his opponent was in a daze, it swept past his neck. Previously, when the spirit python was sweeping around, he had already gotten rid of the two men in bamboo hats and replaced them with a real enemy. After blocking dozens of slashes from Zichun, Hu Tai was entangled by the soul chain that suddenly appeared. Although he had been on guard, his reaction was still too slow. Zichun's soul-destroying attack followed. Hu Tai's eyes were disillusioned. Puff. The blade in Zichun's hand fell again and slashed through Hu Tai's body. The light in Hu Tai's eyes dimmed as his vitality began to fade. The second descender was dead. At this moment, a powerful aura suddenly appeared from the horizon. The human soul realm powerhouse had arrived. Chapter 3772. Zichun began to retreat because he was no match for a human soul realm expert. While he retreated, the spirit python was responsible for holding back all the enemies and stopping them. The 6 of them ran towards the depths. Because the bamboo hat man had appeared once, he would not appear again this time, and the 6 of them were unimpeded. The spirit python's aura was powerful and stopped all the enemies, including the bamboo hat men. However, in the face of so many attacks, the aura around it became weaker and weaker. Its tail swept out again, whistling over, bringing with it a fierce aura. Those who were close immediately retreated, afraid of being affected. Then, the spirit python opened its mouth, and dozens of lightning bolts appeared. The light was dazzling, and with a rumbling sound, it caused everyone to retreat again. At this time, Zichun's group had already fled far away, putting some distance between them and the others. Buzz. The sky shook, and a palm print descended from the sky, carrying a powerful aura. It slapped the spirit python's head, and its body instantly collapsed. The human soul realm expert appeared in midair, and he quickly attacked. After a few palms, soul power shook, and the bamboo hat men were killed one by one. This was the human soul realm. The other party's eyes were cold as he stared into the distance. At this time, Zichun's group had stopped and turned to look at the other party. Both sides looked at each other. Today you must die. The human soul realm expert's voice was cold. This time, he really wanted to kill. His body rushed forward like thunder, and his aura was vast and mighty. However, just as he moved a few hundred feet forward, a similarly violent aura appeared in the sky. A bamboo hat man of the human soul realm descended and blocked the other party. Get lost. The human soul realm expert was furious and struck out with his palm. The bamboo hat man's soul power circulated and blocked the attack. The 2 human soul realm experts were engaged in a fierce battle. Zichun turned around and stared ahead. Lan Rue stood beside him, looking at the human soul realm battle that had already begun, and said, "Are we just going to wait to be killed?" "There's only one chance," Zichun said in a deep voice. "It's either live or die." "What about them?" Lan Rue looked at the people in the distance and said, "Should we kill them first?" Zichun shook his head. Those people were heavily injured, and there weren't many of them left. Zichun said, "Ignore those people. Let's recover first. The next battle is very important." Zichun sat down cross-legged. He took out a recovery holy talisman and began to recover. The others also sat down cross-legged. The next step was to wait. They were waiting for the human spirits to decide life and death. If that powerful existence was directly killed by the bamboo hat man, it would save them the trouble of risking their lives. In front of them, the survivors looked at each other, obviously not knowing what to do. One of them suggested, "Why don't we charge over?" Everyone rolled their eyes at him. It was already dangerous to stay here, so why should he seek death? Zichun opened his eyes. Thanks to the help of the holy talisman, he had recovered his energy in advance. Before this, no one was seriously injured. Now, they were all recovering quickly. The battle between the human souls was still going on. Zichun began to watch the battle. That's the power of the human soul realm. Their soul power has reached another level. Lan Rue's voice came from the side. That's a power that's 1 level higher than soul stones. If you don't reach the true soul realm, you won't be able to advance to the human soul realm. Zichun understood what Lan Rue meant. That was not an ordinary soul realm. One needed to completely understand the power of the soul realm. The attacks continued to clash. The momentum was vast and all kinds of powerful soul techniques were dazzling. Zichun said, "Watch his attacks. We can't be careless in this battle." Blood splattered in the sky. The human soul realm was already injured. This was naturally an extremely good thing for everyone, and it gave them a little more confidence. However, the bamboo hat man's situation was not good. He did not seem to be able to hold on for long. In the end, the human soul realm expert summoned a war spear from behind and pierced through the bamboo hat man's back. The figure of the human soul realm bamboo hat man dissipated into thin air. Zichun stood up, took a deep breath, and said, "It's time to fight." The 5 people stood up one after another. Zichun's soul power surged. The holy talisman brush was already in his hand. Dark clouds rolled and heavenly lightning fell. A spiritual python appeared. The spiritual python hissed and flew forward. Zichun followed closely behind. Lan Hongyi and Lan Rui were on his left and right. Noah and the other 2 followed behind. The human soul realm expert looked at the 3 people and snorted disdainfully. In his eyes, these people were like insects. Even if they bared their fangs, how could they do anything to a giant dragon? In the eyes of the human soul realm expert, he was a giant dragon and the others were insects. Therefore, he waved his hand, indicating that the survivors did not need to do anything. He wanted to deal with these people personally. As the palm slammed down, the void darkened as a huge palm imprint shot forward. The spirit python hissed and its body rose once again. Its huge body blocked the palm. The palm print rumbled. The spiritual python fell to the ground, smashing a huge pit in the ground. Smoke and dust billowed in the pit. Zichun had already rushed to the front of the human soul realm expert. His hands began to form a seal. A ghost appeared in front of him. The ghost's body instantly enlarged like a huge mountain. It charged toward the human soul realm expert. The folding fan in Lan Rui's hand surged with countless ripples of light. It extended forward. Lan Hongyi was like a goddess of war. She held her sword with both hands and slashed at the opponent. Noah pointed forward. A huge storm appeared out of nowhere. Within the storm, green light flickered. A soul weapon also appeared in front of Shanya. It was the small dagger that Zichun had given her. At this moment, it was gathering the power of nothingness. Far ahead, Lan Guming's weapon also flew out. It was like a bolt of lightning, stabbing at the human soul realm expert's neck. The 3 of them were only at the soul void realm. They could only attack from afar. Once the human soul realm expert got close, the 3 of them would definitely die. This was also Zichun's order. The 3 of them were not allowed to get close to the human soul realm expert. Looking at the incoming attacks, the human soul realm expert snorted coldly in disdain. He struck out with his palm, and the huge ghost was sent flying. Then, his palm blocked the incoming storm. With a light shake, the storm dissipated. The killing move hidden and it also disappeared. Then, with a flick of his finger, Shanya's dagger was sent flying. Lan Guming's soul weapon, the narrow sword, was caught in his hand. The narrow sword was constantly struggling. Oomph! The human soul realm expert snorted coldly and was about to crush the narrow sword. At this moment, the ground shook. The spirit python that was smashed into the ground did not dissipate. Instead, it soared into the sky. A bolt of lightning accurately landed on the human soul realm cultivator. The other party's figure swayed, and the narrow sword broke free. At this moment, Zichun arrived in front of the human soul realm expert and punched out. The power of lightning surged out from his fist. Soul destruction. The human soul realm expert stood in the air. The terrifying lightning that flew out of the Tao spirit python's mouth did not affect him at all. He stomped on the ground, and the spirit python was once again stomped into the ground. Chapter 37:73. The human soul displayed an extremely powerful strength that could sweep through everyone. Those who were previously injured were still a little worried. However, when they saw the current situation, they all calmed down. After Zichun was sent flying, Lan Rui and Lan Hongyi were also sent flying. The 3 of them stood side by side and looked at each other. They did not feel dejected because of the other party's strength. In reality, this powerful human soul was heavily injured. Otherwise, the three of them would have been heavily injured or dead long ago. As for the Sky Thunder Python, they believed that it would have been destroyed by the other party with a single palm strike. The Sky Thunder Python that was smashed to the ground soared into the sky for the second time. Its aura was still as powerful as before. The huge underworld ghost also launched an attack at the human soul. Kill. Zichen charged forward again. Soul power swirled around his body as he began to accumulate strength. Soul power gathered towards his fist. Lan Rui and Lan Hongyi attacked the human soul from the left and right. Die. The three of them arrived at almost the same time. The human soul threw out another punch, and Zichen was sent flying again. Blood splattered in mid-air. The large sword in Lan Hongyi's hand fell, leaving a bloody wound on the other party's body. On the other side, several sharp lights appeared on the folding fan in Lan Rui's hand, piercing through the robes of the human soul. After the two of them succeeded in their attacks, they quickly retreated. The spirit python and underworld ghost were responsible for holding the other party back, preventing the human soul from pursuing. Bastard, get out of my way! The human soul shouted and sent the two beasts flying. During this time, the harassment attacks of Noah and the other two were easily dispersed by him. At this moment, a cold voice came from the front. Sky blue light. In the sky, a brilliant light suddenly erupted. The large sword in Lan Hongyi's hand seemed to have turned azure, and a powerful pressure emerged from it. At this moment, Lan Hongyi's gaze was cold, like a ruthless war goddess. There was a hint of caution in the human soul's furious eyes. Only then did he remember that he was facing someone from the Lan family. In that powerful family, there were naturally some amazing techniques. Lan Rui turned his head to look at this scene, and his eyes turned cold bit by bit. Zichen, we're going to go all out. His aura also changed immediately. Boundless blue light was released from his body, as if he was a blue sun, bright and dazzling. Slash. Lan Hongyi shouted again. She held her sword with both hands and slashed down. This time, she did not approach. A beam of blue light shot out from the tip of the sword and headed straight for the human soul realm cultivator. Sensing the might of the light, the face of the human soul realm expert warped in astonishment. For the first time, he activated his defenses, and a blazing barrier of light appeared before him. When the blue light met the barrier, countless ripples appeared on the barrier. The entire barrier began to distort and deform. The eyes of the human soul widened bit by bit as the look in his eyes changed. With a bang, the defense shattered. That ray of light shot forward like a bolt of lightning, bringing with it a strand of blood as it flew for over 100 zhong. The shoulder of the human soul realm expert was pierced, and blood was gushing out from it. The faces of those who did not participate in the battle changed drastically when they saw this scene. Previously, they were still full of confidence in their master, but who would have thought that he would be injured so quickly? In the sky, Lan Hongyi's face turned slightly pale, and the soul power flowing around her body dimmed. This attack was indeed very powerful, and it was a technique unique to the disciples of the Lan family, but it also consumed a lot of soul power. Die! The injured human soul realm expert was completely enraged, and his eyes were filled with cold killing intent. Being injured by what he thought was a small bug was simply a humiliation to him. At this moment, Lan Rui suddenly reached out his hand and tapped the space between his eyebrows. Countless rays of blue light blossomed. Between heaven and earth, within a radius of 1,000 feet, everything was dyed blue. In the blue light, the human soul realm expert seemed to see a person waving at him, and he seemed to see the person closest to him. The blue light had a peaceful aura that could calm one's heart. The killing intent in the eyes of the human soul realm expert was slowly dissipating. Suddenly, the pupils of the human soul realm expert shrank, and he quickly woke up. However, this short moment was enough for Marue to launch an attack. Just as the sharp attack was about to pierce through the human soul realm expert's forehead, a powerful aura suddenly erupted from his body. This aura was like a huge wave, and it directly slammed towards Lan Rui. Lan Rui was very surprised. He did not expect the human soul realm expert to wake up so quickly, but it was enough for him to complete an attack. Blood splattered. The human soul realm expert, who had his vitals protected, had a second bloody wound on his body. This was not a simple attack, but an extremely powerful attack. At this moment, the two wounds of the human soul realm expert had residual energy that was eating away at his life force. The human soul realm expert looked down at his wounds, and a tyrannical look appeared in his eyes. At this moment, a cry of alarm came from below. "Master, watch out above your head." The human soul realm expert raised his head, and then saw that in the sky, there were many connected holy talismans. These holy talismans formed a circle and were shrinking. It was Zichen's ghost spirit holy talisman. Just as Lungrui launched the illusion, Zichen also took the opportunity to use the ghost spirit holy talisman without anyone noticing. At this moment, even if the human soul realm expert noticed the abnormality, it was already too late. The holy talismans shattered one by one, and little ghosts appeared one after another. These little ghosts seemed to be the smallest of the ghost spirits, and they came down. The human soul realm expert was shocked and began to retreat, but the little ghosts were above his head, following him like shadows. "Master, be careful." Another cry of alarm sounded in the sky. In the sky, Lan Hongyi once again displayed her powerful move, and a blue light shot forward like an arrow. Zichen's cold voice sounded in their ears. "Instead of caring about the life and death of others, why don't you take a good look at your own situation?" In the sky, a black shadow descended. The ghost spirit had left the battlefield at some point and landed on the ground. Everyone shouted and scattered in all directions. The ghost spirit began to devour, obviously not intending to let anyone go. The human soul realm expert dodged several times, but he was unable to avoid the ghost spirits, and he also had to block Lan Hongyi's attack. Just as he blocked Lan Hongyi's attack, those little ghosts entered his sea of consciousness. Feeling that his life was being threatened, the human soul realm expert panicked. He quickly attacked, and with a powerful soul power, he forcibly broke Lungrue's second attack. His palm fell, hitting the folding fan. With a bang, several cracks appeared on the folding fan. Bang! He punched out, and Shan Yu's soul weapon exploded, followed by Lan Gu Ming's soul weapon. Lan Gu Ming's soul weapon wailed, and then flew out, entering Lan Gu Ming's body, and did not appear again. The human soul realm expert was really angry, and he also became anxious and began to kill the enemy by any means. All kinds of methods were displayed. Whoosh! An ear-piercing sound came from the sky, and a war spear appeared, heading straight for Zichen. Chapter 3774. Those brats had entered his sea of consciousness, causing him to feel the threat of death. In a panic, he decided to kill Zichen first. That battle spear was his sure kill attack. No matter how Zichen dodged, he could not avoid being locked on by the war spear. The war spear tore through the air and was about to pierce through Zichen's body. However, Zichen did not panic at all. His eyes were still cold and filled with killing intent. He flew towards the human soul realm. The war spear followed him. When the human soul realm saw this, his eyes turned cold. Obviously, at this speed, Zichen would not have a chance to reach him before he was killed by the war spear. Seeing that the war spear was about to pierce through Zichen's body, Zichen could even vaguely feel that the spear was behind him, but he still did not move. A cold smile appeared on the human soul realm's face. As long as Zichen died, the threat in his mind would naturally be removed. At that time, he would not let anyone go. Unexpectedly, at this moment, Zichen suddenly accelerated and pulled away from the war spear. Swish! A figure appeared behind Zichen in time. It was Lan Hongyi. She used her body to block in front of the war spear. This was also what they had agreed on before. Light blossomed from her armor. Her face was pale, but at this moment, she was mobilizing her soul power to the greatest extent to maximize her defense. There was a loud boom. The war spear shattered, and a powerful shockwave spread in all directions. Lan Hongyi's body flew backward and landed on the ground. It was unknown whether she was dead or alive. As for Zichen, he arrived in front of the human spirit expert in a flash and punched him in the chest while the human spirit expert was still in a daze. Soul destruction technique. A powerful soul destruction power surged into the other party's body, bringing with it the unique violence of lightning. Pooh! The human soul realm spat out a mouthful of blood and was sent flying for the first time. Die! On the other side, Longrui arrived in time. The folding fan in his hand was like a sharp blade, piercing through the heart of the human soul realm again. The folding fan turned into a ray of light and flew back to his side. Longrui's body swayed, and he almost fell to the ground. His soul power had been greatly depleted, and he was about to lose his footing. On the other side, Yugue, who had killed all his enemies, flew up and joined up with the Sky Thunder Python to attack the human soul realm again. At this moment, the human spirit was already seriously injured, and the ghost spirit in his mind was continuously eating away at his opponent's soul. Around 10 breaths later, his weak aura was on the verge of dissipating like a candle flame. Yugue immediately stepped forward and swallowed him whole. After swallowing the human soul, Yugue burped. At this moment, a beam of spiritual light flew out of its mouth and headed straight for Zichun. It was the soul of a ghost spirit that had been destroyed. After these souls entered his sea of consciousness, they immediately restored Zichun's depleted soul power. A portion of them even became his soul power. Among the soul force, there were some unique insights of the human soul realm, which were given to Zichun at this moment. This greatly surprised Zichun, and he couldn't help but reveal a hint of joy on his face. Longrui also laughed. This time, they had accomplished a great feat on the ground. Lan Hongyi stood up slowly. Blood was flowing from the corner of her mouth, and her hair was disheveled. The armor that was originally shining brightly on her body was now covered in cracks and was on the verge of being scrapped. Although we won, the price was not small. Lan Hongyi said with a smile, "This defensive armor of mine will take at least a year and a half to recover." Longrui glanced at the folding fan in his hand and said, "It's the same for my soul weapon with the power of illusion." Although that was the case, the two of them didn't feel the slightest heartache. Compared to these losses, killing a human soul realm cultivator was more meaningful. The most important thing was that their lives were saved. Shanya, Noah, and Lan Guming came close. When the human soul realm exploded, they retreated in time to avoid being affected. After all, the three of them were only at the soul void realm. Their realms were too low, and they couldn't withstand a single round. Zichun looked at the corpses on the ground and said, "Everyone, let's look around and see if there's anything that can help us leave." The 6 of them descended from the sky, and Longrui sat on the ground. He had consumed too much energy and was exhausted, so he didn't go forward. Zichun also stood there without moving. The souls that he had absorbed earlier contained some insights of the human soul realm. This feeling was fleeting, and he didn't want to miss it. He closed his eyes and quietly sensed everything in his sea of consciousness. His heart gradually calmed down, and the movement of the grass in his surroundings entered his mind bit by bit. Lan Hongyi's situation wasn't very good either. After searching one person, she stopped and decided to recover first. Thus, only Noah and the other 2 were left. Noah was still very excited about searching for spoils of war because Zichun had obtained the Sky Thunder Python last time. Perhaps this time, they would find a similar harvest. Not to mention other things, just those scattered soul weapons were a huge fortune. Of course, the premise was that everyone could leave successfully. Otherwise, all the spoils would be useless. The 3 of them carefully searched the corpses one by one. During this time, they would also have a short conversation. "Don't let anything go. The only thing that can help us leave might be a jade slip or a saint talisman," Lan Hongyi said from afar. She was in a bad state and could only command everyone. "Don't worry, we won't miss anything," Shanya replied. During this period of time, the 3 of them got along very well. "Little Mute, are you okay?" Shanya suddenly noticed that Lan Guming seemed to be a little absent-minded. Her condition was obviously not right. Lan Guming shook her head and said, "The soul weapon that I obtained last time was heavily damaged. It was originally dormant, but for some reason, it woke up again and emitted an uneasy feeling." Uneasy feeling? Shanya was stunned and then looked at Noah. Noah shook his head, indicating that there was nothing unusual. Shanya then looked at Lan Hongyi. Lan Hongyi said, "I didn't find anything else either." Then, She seemed to have thought of something and said, "Little mute, could it be that you found something? For example, the opportunity here?" This place was originally brought to them by Longu Ming. Originally, there was an opportunity for the heavenly maiden, but everyone was trapped here and did not pay attention to it. Could it be that after this battle, Lan Guming had discovered something about the opportunity? Lan Guming shook her head, indicating that other than the uneasy feeling of the soul weapon, there was nothing else unusual. At this moment, a ray of light appeared in the distance and went straight to Lan Guming. This ray of light was an attack. It was very fierce and even surpassed the attack of the human soul realm from before. When everyone saw this scene, their expressions changed drastically. They wanted to warn her, but it was already too late. Chapter 3775. This sudden attack was completely unexpected. No one was able to react in time. It could even be said that this was a sneak attack. Lan Guming was about to die a violent death. At this moment, Lan Guming's body flashed with light. The narrow sword soul weapon that had disappeared earlier appeared once again. This time, the soul weapon instantly enlarged. It was like a tall wall, blocking in front of Lan Guming. A person could not react in time to such a sudden change. However, a soul weapon that recognized its master could. When the attack landed on the soul weapon, it caused a loud explosion. Countless waves of air rolled and scattered in all directions. The surrounding grass was uprooted. The large sword that was stuck in the ground was pushed back by the impact. Even Lan Guming was pushed back. The strong wind blew, messing up her hair and covering her face. A deep gully was left on the ground. The light had already revealed its true form. It was a long staff. At this moment, the long staff was following the large sword and moving forward. Or rather, it was pushing the large sword forward. Cries of surprise could be heard. Noah and Shanya rushed towards Lan Guming to support her. At this moment, a cold snort suddenly sounded. Another person appeared out of thin air. It was a bare-chested strong man. The moment he appeared, he stretched out his hand and pointed out two fingers. Bang! Bang! Noah and Shanya, who were flying towards Lan Guming, forcefully changed their direction in midair. They crashed into the distance. It was unknown whether they were dead or alive. Retreat quickly. Lan Rue, who was healing his injuries, opened his eyes. His already cracked folding fan opened, causing ripples to appear on it. The bare-chested strong man's eyes had a hint of ridicule. "I have already seen through your methods." He did not move forward. Instead, he struck out with his palm. A huge palm print went straight towards Lan Rue. With a bang, the folding fan in Lan Rue's hand shattered. It completely lost its effect. His body was also sent flying backwards. Buzz! The surface of the large sword that had been blocking the long staff trembled. In the next moment, it disappeared. Lan Guming also took the opportunity to retreat. At this moment, her face was pale and blood was flowing out from the corner of her mouth. Even with the protection of her soul weapon, she was still injured. As long as the other party caught up, the bamboo hat man would descend. At that time, there would naturally be a bamboo hat man to stop the other party. Lan Guming's soul weapon disappeared. The long staff had also exhausted its power. It flew towards the bare-chested strong man and was firmly caught in his hand. Seeing Lan Guming fleeing into the distance, the bare-chested man, who was already in the human soul realm, gripped the long rod in his hand and threw it out again. Like a bolt of lightning, it went straight towards Lan Guming. Lan Rue 2-2 to block 2-2-2 to block the long staff. With a loud boom, the battle armor on the surface of her body shattered. Just like Lan Rue's soul weapon, it was completely destroyed and could no longer be repaired. Once again, the long staff returned to its original spot, returning without success. Holding the long staff, the bare-chested strong man couldn't help but frown. He had originally launched a sneak attack, but he didn't expect that he wouldn't be able to kill a single person. At this moment, he saw Zi-chan. He had watched the previous battle from beginning to end, but he didn't make a move. He was still very surprised by this young man's methods. Right now, he was prepared to kill Zi-chan first. As soon as he thought of this, a black shadow fell from the sky. It was Yugue. Its body was like a huge mountain, and when it fell, It brought with it a strong whistling sound. With such a big movement, it was unknown if Yugue was warning the motionless Zichun to quickly retreat. Zichun still had his eyes closed, and he didn't move. The bare-chested strong man raised his palm. Light flowed on the palm print, and a tyrannical aura surged. He held Yugue with his palm and blocked the other party's attack. In the next moment, soul power erupted from his palm, and Yugue's body exploded. Compared to the human soul realm from before, the bare-chested strong man's combat strength was undoubtedly stronger. When Yugue's body exploded, he rushed towards Zichun. He was like a speeding light. "Zichun!" Lan Rue shouted. Zichun opened his eyes. There was a flash of light in his eyes, as if it contained thunder. The speed of the human soul realm seemed to have slowed down in his eyes. He took out the sacred rune brush. His movements didn't seem fast, but he finished his movements before the human soul realm arrived. He drew a line in the sky. It was as if he had written the word, one. In an instant, the world shook as if the whole world was divided into two. The charging streak of light instantly stopped moving. This person at the human soul realm displayed extraordinary control over his strength. After the sudden stop, there was a hint of fear in his eyes, as if there was some terrifying ghost in front of him. A trace of soul power appeared in front of him, flying towards him. It looked ordinary, but it made him quickly retreat. The reason for that was because that beam of soul power was capable of directly splitting this space into two. The other party was rapidly retreating. The light seemed to be advancing at a steady pace, but it always maintained a certain distance from him, and he couldn't shake it off. It was as if the two of them were in the same space, and as long as they came into contact, they would be divided into two. The fear in the bare-chested strong man's eyes grew stronger and stronger. In the next moment, he shouted in horror, and the soul power around him began to surge like a tide, pouring out in all directions. In the distance, the few people didn't know what was happening. They only saw Zichun randomly draw a line in the sky, and that powerful human soul retreated in fear. Right now, it was as if he had gone crazy, constantly squandering his power. No one knew what the other party was doing. Only the bare-chested strong man knew, and he was very clear-headed. After the powerful shock wave, his connection with the trace was finally broken. Right now, he was no longer affected, so he retreated even faster. He looked at the trace that was no longer afraid of the threat, and then looked at Zichun. At this moment, the other party's eyes were filled with confusion. Clearly, even Zichun didn't know what was going on. Then, he believed that Zichun wouldn't be able to use the same attack a second time. As long as he retreated far enough, he would be able to counterattack. Lan Rue and the others noticed the change in the other party's expression. There was no more fear, and killing intent reappeared. This made them feel uneasy. Right at that moment, the robust man who had retreated suddenly moved forward and blocked the path of the light. The killing intent in the other party's eyes still existed. The trace swept past the other party's body. What's going on? Lan Hongyi was suddenly stunned, and she was very confused. Why did the other party take the initiative to move forward, as if he was seeking death by crashing into the trace? It's time. The flow of time has changed. Lan Rue said in shock. It's like time has reversed. Time has reversed, and he has appeared in his original position. When the bare-chested strong man saw the trace in front of him disappear, he, whose face was filled with killing intent, was slightly stunned. Why did it disappear into thin air? Was it an illusion? In the next moment, he felt his strength begin to fade. Then, he looked down and only saw half of his body. His pupils suddenly dilated, and there was fear in his eyes. He didn't understand what was going on. In the next moment, his consciousness dissipated. Chapter 3776. Zichun's eyes were still blank. He also did not understand what had happened. When the crisis appeared, he was only one step away from successfully comprehending the holy talisman technique from the black jade slip. When the crisis arrived, Zichun, who was under great pressure, finally took that step as he heard his companions being sent flying one after another. Then, he opened his eyes and drew a stroke in the sky. A trace moved forward. Zichun didn't know the reason for all of this, but he was very clear on one thing. This brush seemed to be the sharpest weapon in the world, capable of splitting space into two. Everything it encountered was unable to escape its fate. However, the other party's realm was extremely high, and he easily broke free from the seal of the stroke. Seeing that his attack had lost its effect, who knew that at this moment, the other party did not retreat, but instead moved forward, directly colliding with the light and splitting into two. It was equivalent to taking the initiative to seek death. Although he did not know what had happened, Zichun was obviously relieved that the crisis had been averted. Then, he reacted and looked behind him. He saw Lan Rui, Lan Guming, Lan Hongyi who had lost her armor, and the severely injured Noah and Shanya. Although everyone's condition was not good and their injuries were not light, fortunately, they were still alive. Zichun put away the unpredictable brush, stood up and said, "Everyone, heal your injuries first. We'll talk about the rest later." For safety's sake, he motioned for everyone to start retreating to a place where the man in bamboo hat could appear. If he had not been careless earlier, they would not have been in such a sorry state and almost died. Of course, Zichun did not expect that the other party would arrange for two human soul realm experts. It seemed that the other party was very eager to kill them. The few of them began to treat their wounds. They looked very miserable, but Zichun was the one who was in the best condition. After recovering from his injuries, there was no danger, so Zichun, who had waited for a moment, walked forward to look for the spoils. In the end, he obtained a long staff, which was a human soul realm weapon. There were complicated patterns on it, which seemed to be some kind of pattern, but Zichun did not recognize it. Human soul weapons were naturally extraordinary. Since he didn't have any suitable weapons, he naturally wanted to take them for himself. However, after a slight hesitation, he decided to take it out and see what the others thought. After cleaning up the battlefield, Zichun walked back and continued to feel the brush stroke from before. The power of that stroke was simply too strong. It was actually able to kill even a human soul realm cultivator, which showed how extraordinary it was. As time passed, Zichun's consciousness gradually sank into it. After an unknown period of time, Lan Rui opened his eyes. His injuries had already recovered. A light breeze blew past, blowing up a cloud of dust on the messy battlefield. Lan Rui raised his eyebrows slightly. This was originally a sealed space, and time was also still. All the environments were unchanging, so why was there wind? There was also the scene from before. In this still space, there was actually a problem with the flow of time. Otherwise, that human soul realm expert would not have died. What was going on? After thinking for a long time, Lan Rui, who could not come to a conclusion, simply gave up. At this moment, he saw the soul weapon beside Zichun. It was a weapon left behind by the human soul realm expert. He went forward to take a closer look before putting it down. Not long after, Lan Hongyi's injuries had also recovered. Having lost her armor, she was now wearing a long dress. She only took a glance at the soul weapon and lost interest. The others woke up one after another. Only Shanya and Noah's injuries had not fully recovered, but they were no longer obstructed from walking. Hearing the commotion beside him, Zichun opened his eyes and nodded at them with a smile. Everyone was in a good state. Of course, their luck was even better. To be able to survive, other than their strength, there was also a lot of luck. Is everyone all right? Zichun stood up and stretched his muscles. We're fine. Lan Rui walked forward and said, What happened just now? Why did time rewind? Time rewind? Zichun was stunned. If it wasn't for the time rewind, that human soul realm expert wouldn't have died. Lan Rui told him about his discovery, but Zichun was still confused. Look around. There's already wind. Lan Rui looked into the distance where the grass was low and the wind blew past. Zichun understood what Lan Rui meant and turned to look at Lan Guming. Little mute, did you find anything? Lan Guming nodded and said, I seem to have sensed another place. As soon as her voice fell, the surrounding space suddenly distorted, and an oppressive force appeared. Zichun stretched out his hand, and a long rod appeared in his hand. He gripped the long rod tightly and looked around. The others were also on guard. However, other than the distorted space, there was nothing abnormal. Lan Guming said, There's an emotion coming from that space. It seems to be very urgent. Should we go in and take a look? The others looked at Zichun, waiting for him to make a decision. Zichun looked at everyone. Other than Noah and Shanya, who had not recovered from their injuries, the others were already at their peak. Which one of you wants this soul weapon? Zichun took out the long rod in his hand. As a weapon of the human soul realm, this soul weapon was of extremely high quality. If a battle happened, it would be a form of protection for the wielder. I've already seen it before. It's not compatible with me. Longrui shook his head and said, I'm good at illusions, but it clearly doesn't have that enhancement. I still have a soul weapon. I don't need it. Lan Hongyi's armor had lost its effect, but her weapon was still there. She also shook her head. Lan Guming also had her own weapon and didn't need this long rod. As for Noah and Shanya, they also shook their heads. In this situation, the powerful soul weapon was in the hands of the powerful Zichun. Only then would they have a chance of survival. Zichun didn't continue to dwell on this matter and directly used his soul power to refine the long rod. Then, he said, you guys recover first. He took out the holy talisman brush again and began to write talismans. It was the Ghost Spirit Holy Talisman. This was one of his most powerful trump cards. There seems to be a consciousness urging us to speed up. He said that he doesn't have much time left. At this moment, Lan Guming suddenly said. The few of them looked at each other. Zichun hesitated for a moment, then put away the unpredictable brush and said, let's go take a look first. Lan Guming's body bloomed with light, and the state of a heavenly lady was revealed. At the same time, her strength attribute also changed. She stretched out her white jade-like palm and pressed towards the sky. Water-like light scattered in all directions. A passage appeared in front of them. Looking at this water-like passage, Zichun took out the long rod again and said in a deep voice, let's go. Chapter 37:77. Zichun walked into the passage and came to an independent space. The first thing that appeared in his perception was the pressure. This pressure gave people a feeling of confusion, as if time and space were not stable, and he felt a little dizzy. The light coming from the front was also colored, coming from the distorted space-time. Then, Zichun saw two behemoths facing each other in the distorted space-time. Countless space-time powers gathered around one of the behemoths, and the space around it was distorted and refracted light. The other seemed to be able to affect time. Where Zichun looked, his vision was sometimes clear and sometimes blurry, making it impossible to distinguish between reality and illusion. Lan Rue and the others followed behind. After seeing the scene in front of them, their expressions changed drastically, and they were shocked. Wasn't this the fairy's opportunity? Why were there two behemoths here? You're finally here. At this moment, a voice sounded, coming from the second behemoth. It's been so many years. If you hadn't come, I'm afraid I wouldn't have been able to hold on. Hearing the other party's voice, Zichun asked in surprise, Senior, are you waiting for us? To be precise, I'm just waiting for someone. But right now, I need your power. Me? Zichun pointed at himself with a puzzled expression. That's right, it's you. The voice said again. Now use your power to break open the space in front of me. Zichun looked at the behemoth that could distort space-time and said hesitantly, Senior, you must be joking. How could I have such power? I'm not joking. Young man, you do have such power, but what you need to do is not to break open the space around this old man, but the space where this guy in front of you is. This old man has been waiting for you for a long time. The first behemoth suddenly spoke, but the content of its words made Zichun's expression change again. Both of them believed that he had the power to break open space, but which existence should he attack? The first behemoth continued, Young man, don't be confused. Your enemy is in front of you. This place was originally a trial space, but its arrival had broken the pattern of this place. Originally, this place contained opportunities and power for the Holy Maiden. However, because it fought with me, it caused the trial space to change. If it wasn't for your previous battle that changed the situation, you wouldn't have been able to come here at all. This was also the conjecture that Zichun had made before. Due to the passage of many years, changes had occurred. However, he did not expect that these changes were actually caused by the battle between the two beasts. But now, who should he listen to? Young man, I helped you before. The second behemoth said, I have the power to change time. Earlier, it was because time had changed that you were able to obtain the final victory. But it was also because I split a portion of my power to help you that allowed it to seize the opportunity and put me in danger. I was the one who sent that message. If you had come a little later, this battle that has lasted for many years would have ended in a life and death battle. Young man, don't listen to his nonsense. I control the power of space-time. The reason why you can reach this place is because I opened the passageway. The first behemoth said. The others looked at each other. Clearly, they did not expect to encounter such a thing. Who should he trust now? They all sounded trustworthy. Everyone subconsciously looked at Zichun. In this kind of matter, Zichun did not dare to make a decision casually. Thus, he looked at Lan Guming. This was her opportunity. Perhaps she could sense some issues of right and wrong. Unexpectedly, Lan Guming shook her head and said, Sorry, I can't tell. It seems that what they said is true and very reasonable. Young man, you should believe in space-time. Because time is fickle, while space-time is eternal and unchanging. If time did not deliberately change, how could everything that should belong to you change? The behemoth that could control the power of time said again. At this time, the two beasts seemed to be standing in the void without any interaction. In fact, they had both raised their power to the limit and were engaged in a destructive battle. Once one side was defeated, only death would await. But who should he help? Try using your power. It's enough to break open a little space. The space-time beast saw Zichun's hesitation and said again, Young man, I know you have concerns in your heart. I don't want to see you in a difficult position. If you really don't want to help, then how about this? Don't help anyone and just watch the outcome of the battle. This suggestion was obviously not bad. Even Lan Rue and the others felt that it was feasible. At this moment, the time beast said, Earlier, I used a portion of my power and was already at a disadvantage. If you don't help anyone, I'll die. And once I die, all of you will die. The space-time beast said, Young man, you believe such words? If you don't help anyone, you're not wrong. If you're not wrong, how can you die? The time beast said, It already has the upper hand. It's just stalling for time. Once I'm defeated, not only will it devour me, it will also devour the fairy. At that time, do you think you can still survive? Young man, don't listen to its nonsense. It's already at the end of its tether. You just need to watch quietly. The space-time beast's voice sounded again. Their minds were in a mess. They didn't know who to believe. The hesitant Zichun's gaze became firm. He said in a deep voice, It's hard to tell if it's real or fake. I can only trust my intuition. Since Senior was willing to help us, we'll believe Senior this time. Young man, you can't be fooled by it. It knows that it's no match for you, so it used such a method, the space-time beast said anxiously. With a flash of light, the unpredictable brush appeared in Zichun's hand. The power that the two existences were talking about should be the attack of his holy talisman art. After taking out the holy talisman brush, Zichun's eyes no longer hesitated. His gaze became incomparably firm, and there was even a hint of coldness. Life and death will be decided at this moment. You brainless bastard, you're courting death. Seeing that Zichun was really about to attack it, the space-time beast suddenly became furious. The space-time power around it began to circulate, and then figures appeared in the distorted space-time. They landed and turned into men in bamboo hats. Kill. Don't leave a single one alive. The space-time beast's cold voice sounded. Those men in bamboo hats charged towards Zichun and the others. This time, they didn't care about the morality of a one-on-one battle. They directly attacked in a group battle. Zichun's brush fell and drew a straight line in the sky. The straight line turned into a mark that deliberately cut through space and headed forward. Stop him. The space-time beast shouted again. This time, there was a hint of anxiety in its voice. Zichun, who was originally unsure and was only testing, had now come to a very certain conclusion. His choice was right. Kill. Chapter 3778. The mark that could cut through space was blocked by the man in bamboo hat. However, the price was not small. Among them, 5 of them were at the sole true realm. Their bodies were split into two, and they died and dissipated. The staff in Zichen's hand glowed as he waved it forward. In terms of staff techniques, the devil ape was very good in this aspect. Zichen had watched it for a long time, so he naturally learned a little. Spatial power appeared on the space-time beast's body again, isolating the place where Zichen and the others were. Or rather, it changed the spatial pattern here. As a result, they, who were not far away from each other, were now a long distance away. If Zichen wanted to break out of this situation, he could only speed up and charge forward. Bang, bang, bang. Wherever the staff passed, the bodies of the man in bamboo had exploded one after another. At this time, he naturally would not hold back. Ripples spread out in all directions, forming a terrifying wave of air. Now that the target was clear, Lanrue and the others also used their full strength at this time. "Young man, I can't hold on much longer." The time beast's voice sounded again, this time with a hint of anxiety. Zichen glanced ahead. The two beasts were still confronting each other, but he couldn't see anything unusual. If he had to point out a problem, it seemed that the power around the time beast had become even more unstable. It's useless to count on them to save you. Today, everyone will die. The space-time beast's voice was filled with killing intent. I've let you linger on for so many years. It's time for you to die. Zichen began to form seals. Soul light flowed on his fingertips, and the ghost that had exploded earlier reappeared. As long as Zichen's soul power existed, the ghost would not die. The ghost that appeared was like a mountain peak. It charged forward, using its body to send the man in bamboo hat flying. Zichen raised his brush again. This time, it was no longer the holy talisman technique, but the heavenly thunder python. In the strange phenomenon, the spirit python appeared, carrying lightning as it attacked the approaching man in bamboo hat. Zichen raised his brush again, and another spirit python appeared. The two pythons soared into the air, their auras vast and mighty. Countless bolts of lightning descended, striking the man in bamboo hat one after another. Some of these people died, while others flew backwards. The three beasts opened a path for Zichen to move forward. Zichen, whose face was somewhat pale, began to move forward. There's no need to make a futile struggle. Could it be that you're so naive as to think that you have the power to break through space? The space-time beast mocked. Zichen released his soul light. With the three beasts leading the way, he arrived at the end of this space and picked up his brush. It was just a stroke. What little soul power he had left in his body was completely poured into unfathomable, leaving behind a mark in the sky. The trail continued forward. It landed on the space in front of him and then disappeared. There was no reaction. The space-time beast laughed out loud. "You overestimate yourself." Zichen raised the brush again. This time, the energy in his body was completely depleted. It seemed as though even his life was about to be sucked away by this stroke. The power of this stroke fell in front of him, but it still didn't cause much of a change. This made Zichen a little depressed. "Young man, that's enough." At this moment, the space-time beast's voice sounded. "Take the others and retreat quickly." Zichen retreated when he heard this. The power of his two strikes could be ignored, but if they were added together, it was equivalent to a straw. Although it was very light, it was the last straw that broke the camel's back. In a situation where both sides were evenly matched, Zichen's negligible power was like the most important straw that could decide the outcome of the battle. The space around the space-time beast began to disintegrate layer by layer. The space became unstable, and the men in bamboo hats around disappeared one by one. The space-time beast completely appeared. This was also the first time Zichen and the others saw its appearance. Its body was suffused with a faint blue light, and it had a dragon head that belonged to the Western dragon race. Its body was extremely huge, and its body was covered with scales. It looked mighty and ferocious. "If I die, you guys won't have it easy either. At most, we'll die together." The power on its body erupted once again. This time, it was even more violent, as if the entire space was about to explode. Countless rays of time power appeared in front of them, trying to stabilize the surroundings, but it was not very effective. At this moment, the space-time beast had also used up a lot of its power, so its true body was revealed. It looked no different from the space-time beast, but its face was more amiable. At this moment, the space-time power in front of them surged, as if it was about to completely destroy this space. Protect the Holy Maiden. The space-time beast let out a sigh. A ray of light flew over from afar and landed on Lan Guming's body. Then, the light expanded and turned into a huge light barrier, protecting the gathered people. In the next moment, the space where they were standing was completely destroyed. They stayed in the light barrier and watched the terrifying energy wreak havoc around them. However, there were no abnormalities in the place where they were standing. It was as if they were in a different space-time. It's the power of time. We're in the past, but it's also possible that we're in the future. Zichen looked at the dilapidated surroundings and said, "It's very likely that we're in the future. Because in the past, this place really existed. Only in the future can this place be destroyed." The space-time light barrier was still in effect. When the raging energy around them disappeared, everything returned to silence. With a bang, the space-time light barrier shattered. Zichen's group of 6 appeared. The messy ground in front of them had already returned to normal. It was as if time had gone back, and everything had returned to the way it was when they first arrived. The only difference was that the 2 behemoths in the field were no longer confronting each other. They fell to the ground, motionless. Their vitality had already faded. They were dead. It seemed like they had perished together. A sorrowful aura filled the surroundings. Zichun walked forward. Their lives were saved by the space-time beast. Before they perished together, the space-time beast used its last bit of time power to send them to the future and avoid this disaster. Arriving in front of the 2 beasts, they didn't know what to say. Lan Guming suddenly shed tears. She felt that she had lost the most important thing to her. A ray of light suddenly appeared and landed in front of them. It was an old man wearing a blue robe. He looked at the 6 people in front of him and let out a sigh. "You're finally here." Zichen looked at the old man who suddenly appeared and felt a sense of vigilance in his heart. After seeing the old man, Lan Rui and Lan Hongyi's expressions changed. The 2 of them looked at each other and saw disbelief in each other's eyes. Obviously, it wasn't their eyes that were playing tricks on them. What they saw was real. Lan Rui realized that his throat was a little dry and his voice was a little hoarse. Ancestor? He had never seen this old man before, but he had seen a portrait of him. It was the ancestor of the Lan family who had single-handedly created the powerful Lan family. Lan Xing. Chapter 3779. Lan Xing was the legend of the Lan family. There was no doubt about it. Even though he had left for countless years, the portrait of the ancestor was still hanging in the ancestral hall of the Lan family. All the direct descendants had the right to admire the glory of this ancestor. At the same time, they were familiar with the glorious deeds of the ancestor. Lan Rui and Lan Hongyi were like that. Looking at the old man in front of them, who seemed to be the ancestor, the shock in their hearts was obviously greater than excitement. Especially after the Blue Planet Patriarch nodded his head, the 2 of them felt as if a huge wave had been set off in their hearts. The 2 of them immediately bowed to the old man. The last record of the ancestor was that the ancestor went out to travel and never returned. It was unknown whether he was dead or alive. They never thought that the ancestor would be here. The ancestor waved his hand and said, "I'm just a wisp of soul power incarnation. I'm not your ancestor. There's no need to be so polite." The 2 of them raised their heads and were still extremely excited. Lan Xing looked at the fairy with a sigh in his eyes. After a moment, he said, "Why are you only here now?" Lan Guming shook her head, indicating that she did not know. Zichen also shook his head. This was their family background. It was not convenient for him to participate. He even took the initiative to retreat. Could it be that the Lan family has declined? They were unable to protect the fairy, causing her to reincarnate generation after generation. Now, they have chased her here and want to kill her? Lan Xing asked again. Faced with the ancestor's question, Lan Rui naturally had to answer. Thus, he explained everything in detail. When the ancestor, who was just a wisp of an incarnation, heard this, his expression turned ugly bit by bit. In the end, he shouted angrily, "Be ****starred. What a be ****starred? Helping the fairy grow is the Lan family's mission. It's the foundation of the Lan family's existence. How did it become like this? There might be some misunderstanding, but Zichun did not want to know. He directly blocked his sharp perception. Bored, he took out the long rod and began to examine it carefully. The patterns on it seemed to be some kind of strange pattern. During the battle earlier, Zichun used it very well. Noah and Shanya listened to the ancestor's pained voice and occasionally turned their heads to look. They were somewhat curious. I found my own strength. Next, I just need to find a way to use my soul power, and I'll be able to advance to the soul realm. Zichun put away the long rod and said to the two. The two immediately retracted their gazes and nodded. This time, it could be said that he had come back from death's door. After reprimanding them for a while, Lan Rue and Lan Hongyi walked over dejectedly. When they saw Zichun, they could only smile bitterly. Lan Hongyi was even less arrogant than before. Lan Guming stayed behind. Now, the Blue Star ancestor was going to give her the fairy inheritance. Lan Rue walked to Zichun's side and sat down. He sighed and said, "It seems that after I made that decision, my life became unlucky. After coming here, I was suppressed everywhere. My combat strength is less than 70% of what it used to be. The only thing I'm proud of is the decision to keep the Heavenly Daughter, even going against the entire Lan family. However, after hearing your explanation today, I've become a joke." Since Lan Rue was willing to talk, Zichun was also willing to listen, but he did not express his opinion. Do you know that the Lan family's strength is all because of the Heavenly Daughter? The Lan family's mission is to protect the Heavenly Daughter's growth. The appearance of the Heavenly Daughter in the Lan family is just to take back the luck that belongs to her. Lan Rue smiled bitterly and said, "It's ridiculous that our family has always said that the Heavenly Daughter took away the luck that belongs to the Lan family. In fact, the Heavenly Daughter is not the Blue Star ancestor's daughter at all. She has always been protected by the Blue Star ancestor, and then he entrusted the Lan family to protect her. However, for some reason, the truth has become like this." Zichun's expression changed slightly. The difference between the truth and the legend was too big. We are the ones who have always owed them, not the other way around. Lan Hongyi was silent. To the entire Lan family, the two of them had withstood a huge amount of pressure to follow the Heavenly Daughter here. However, who would have thought that the truth would be like this? At this moment, a light bloomed in front of them. It was Lan Guming who had revealed the Heavenly Daughter's state and began to accept the inheritance. Just as the Heavenly Daughter was accepting the inheritance, something strange happened between the two huge corpses. A beam of light suddenly appeared. It was like a ball of light absorbing the surrounding energy. Motes of light appeared on the two huge corpses and were currently being absorbed by the ball of light. Such a change caused everyone's expression to change. After all, the corpses of the two dead existences were equivalent to supreme treasures. They could be refined into corresponding spirit weapons that contained the power of time and space. They were extraordinarily powerful. Zichun looked into the distance, not moving at all. He did not even put up his guard. This was because he saw the change in the Blue Star ancestor's expression. There was anticipation in the Blue Star ancestor's expression, but no hostility. The light in front grew brighter and brighter. The two huge corpses quickly disintegrated. Finally, at a certain moment, the two huge corpses disappeared. The light in the sky became even more dazzling, like an erupting sun. The few of them subconsciously closed their eyes. Earlier, it was like the light turned into a sharp sword, trying to pierce their eyes and blind them. When the light faded away, they saw a small beast in the sky. It had fine scales all over its body, and its eyes were very bright. At this moment, it was using its small claws to scratch its dragon-like head. It was looking at everything around it with great curiosity. It looked very cute. After seeing the appearance of the small beast, Zichun's expression changed. It was the appearance of the two beasts from before, just in their young state. What was that? A space-time beast? A time beast? Or a combination of the two? It's the blue dragon beast, the complete form of the blue dragon beast. The excited voice of the Blue Star Patriarch sounded. He immediately flew forward, wanting to hug the little guy. Swoosh! A ripple appeared around the little guy's body. In the next moment, it disappeared. It arrived in front of Lan Guming. Its smart little eyes were sizing up Lan Guming. It was curious and puzzled. The fairy was receiving the inheritance and did not know what was happening outside. At this moment, the wings on her back reappeared, shining with colorful lights. After circling around Lan Guming for more than 10 times, the little guy's body suddenly released ripples of light. Then, it penetrated the light barrier around the fairy and arrived in front of her. This shocked Zichun and the others. They were very worried. The blue dragon beast did not attack the fairy. Instead, it landed on her shoulder, closed its eyes, and fell into a deep sleep. The Blue Star Patriarch's expression was very excited. He did not expect the fairy to have such an opportunity. This was really an amazing opportunity. He waved at Zichun and said, "Young man, let's have a chat." Zichun walked forward and bowed to the Blue Star Patriarch. "Young man, there's no need to be so polite. Speaking of which, it's all thanks to your help this time." The Blue Star Patriarch said, "If it weren't for your vital power, everything would have been over." Speaking of this, the Blue Star Patriarch sighed again. This existence who single-handedly founded the Lan family had a deep sense of helplessness in his eyes at this moment. "I'm just a remnant soul. I don't have anything to reward you with. Take this thing. It will be useful in the future." Chapter 3780. Zichun did not understand what the Blue Star Patriarch meant, but he did not refuse. He took the extraordinary blue jade and asked, "Senior, do you have any other instructions?" "It's not an instruction. I just suggest that you head north after leaving." The Blue Star Patriarch turned his head to look north and said, "The Blue Sand State is too small to accommodate you. You have to head to that place eventually." Zichun heard the Blue Star Patriarch's voice, but he did not ask further. Clearly, this was not something a Soul True Realm cultivator should know. He put away the token. When he raised his head, he found that the Patriarch's body had suddenly become extremely faint. His expression changed slightly. The Blue Star Patriarch said, "I'm just a remnant soul to begin with. I've waited for so many years. I can't hold on for much longer. This is also the reason why I didn't appear earlier and needed you to make your own choice. However, I'm a little curious. How did you determine that the blue dragon beast who controlled space was lying?" Zichun shook his head and said, "I can't be sure. It's just that the time beast doesn't want us to die. This is true, even though I don't know what its goal is. Therefore, I can only use this favor to test it." "Test it?" The Blue Star Patriarch was slightly stunned when he heard that. Then, he laughed out loud. "I see. I'm relieved that you have such wisdom. Zichun, I'll remember you. I hope to see you again next time. When the time comes, I'll definitely drink with you." The Blue Star Patriarch's figure disappeared. Zichun cupped his fists at the sky again. Long Rui and Lan Hongyi ran over quickly. Looking at the Patriarch who had disappeared, the two of them could not help but feel disappointed. The Patriarch did not give the two of them any guidance, nor did he ask about the family matters. He just disappeared. "The Patriarch said that you two will meet again?" Long Rui looked at Zichun and asked. Zichun nodded and said, "Yes." Long Rui said excitedly, "In that case, the Patriarch is not dead. The Patriarch is still alive?" Maybe. What if it's the next remnant soul in the next land of opportunity?" The excitement on Long Rui's face disappeared, and he looked a little disappointed. "I'm saying what if, but other than that, there's a higher possibility that he's still alive." Zichun turned and walked into the distance. Now, as long as Lan Guming obtained the angel's inheritance, they would be able to leave. As for the location, the Blue Star Patriarch had already pointed out the direction for him, which was the north. Then keep going north. The fairy's inheritance was not over yet. While the others were either recuperating or cultivating, Zichun was not idle either. He began to draw talismans. It was the Ghost Spirit Saint Talisman. If it wasn't for the Ghost Spirit Sacred Talisman, it would have been impossible for them to win against a human soul. It was the realization that the Ghost Spirit had given back after its life was extinguished that allowed Zichun to take another step forward and comprehend the power of the Holy Talisman stroke, thus killing the second human soul realm expert. Of course, strength was one aspect, But luck was even more important. If it wasn't for the Time Beast's secret help, the human soul realm cultivators wouldn't have died at all. On the contrary, they would have been killed next. However, what surprised Zichun was that the ghost spirit's feedback after killing the enemy actually contained realization. This was something that had never happened before. As the last stroke fell, soul power surged in front of him, and another ghost spirit's sacred talisman appeared. Zichun sensed his own limit. 18 talismans. This indicated that his soul power had become stronger, indicating that the ghost spirit had also become stronger. Seeing that no one was idle, Zichun took out another piece of ancient jade. He had obtained it from the dead descender, and it was also a holy talisman technique. It could summon a black tiger that could contend against the sky thunder python. Secluded mountain tiger. It was on the same level as the sky thunder python. Following the principle of having more skills, Zichun naturally didn't want to miss it. With the Time Beast and Space Beast dead, this place returned to normal, and time began to flow normally. In a flash, 3 days passed. In these 3 days, the light on Lan Guming's body didn't dissipate, and the little beast also rested on her shoulder without waking up. During this time, Zichun walked closer to investigate twice, and he could feel a repulsive force that prevented him from moving forward. This was Lan Guming's defense, or rather the goddess's inheritance, to prevent anyone from approaching. Only the little fellow called the Blue Dragon Beast wasn't affected. Zichun asked Longrui what the Blue Dragon Beast was, but Longrui didn't know. In the Blue Sand continent, there was no such creature as the Blue Dragon Beast. After another 2 days, Shanya, who was cultivating, suddenly released a powerful aura, and a spirit tide surged out. Zichun's consciousness retracted from the ancient jade that recorded the holy talisman technique. He turned to look at the soul power fluctuations, and a smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. Shanya had broken through. The team had gained another powerful fighting force. The next step was to wait for Noah. The green light on the surface of his body flickered. Once he broke through, he would definitely be outstanding among those of the same level. When the spirit aura around him stabilized, Shanya opened his eyes, and his face was filled with excitement. At this time, Zichun was deep in thought. This time, there were descenders among the people who came, and their target seemed to be him. However, the last person who sneaked an attack at the human soul realm attacked Lan Guming first. If Zichun's guess wasn't wrong, these people should be the Ghost King's people. But how did they find this place? Did they join hands with someone from the Lan family? This made Zichun recall the other thing that Longrui said before he left. It was an additional reward, and the Lan family could help him do something. At that time, Zichun directly rejected it, but Noah thought of the Ghost King and wanted the Lan family to help get rid of him. Now, it seemed that the Lan family also knew about this matter, so they wanted to borrow the Ghost King's hand to kill them, including the fairy Lan Guming. It seemed that there were radical existences in the Lan family. He had to be careful when he went out. But what puzzled him was, how did those people catch up? Noah's breakthrough was 2 days later than Shanya's. After the breakthrough, his battle strength increased greatly. Another 2 days later, the blue light around Lan Guming disappeared, and the fairy inheritance ended. The little blue dragon beast also woke up and was held in Lan Guming's arms. At this time, Lan Guming was already in the soul realm. Moreover, her temperament had also changed greatly. Is there a way to leave? Zichun first congratulated, then asked. He tried a few times before, but he couldn't leave. Longrui and the others also tried. Lan Guming glanced at the blue dragon beast in her arms and said in a pleasant voice, "Xiao Lan can." It was obvious that she liked this little blue dragon beast very much. In the opportunity back then, once we obtained the inheritance, the time blue dragon beast would take us away. Lan Guming said, "It's just that a space blue dragon beast came halfway, causing the layout of this place to change. But with Xiao Lan here, we don't have to worry." Lan Guming gently stroked the blue dragon beast's head. The blue dragon beast's body released a ray of light. The light landed in front of them and turned into a tunnel. Chapter 3781. In a nameless mountain stream, Longrui looked at the strange rocks around him and said, "We have to find a city first. Hongi, and I need some suitable equipment from our family." The Lan family was the #1 power in the Blue Sand continent. As long as there was a city, the Lan family's spies would be able to contact the Lan family. Noah, who was walking at the side, said, "But we don't even know where we are now. Where are we going to find a city? It's been 3 days. Not to mention a city, we haven't even seen a shadow of a person." The Blue Sand continent was very big. At this moment, they had no idea where they were. As for Xiaolan, who had brought them out, she had already burrowed into Lan Guming's embrace and had not woken up. In the previous battle, Long Rui had lost his folding fan and Lan Hongyi's battle armor had been shattered. Their losses were not small. One must know that these 2 soul weapons were taken from the Lan family's treasury. Furthermore, they were the most compatible with the Lan family's power. Their quality was far superior to ordinary soul weapons. Comparatively speaking, Noah and Shan Yu's soul weapons had been shattered, which was almost negligible. Currently, the 2 of them did not have the most suitable soul weapons for themselves. They needed to find a place to buy them or refine them on their own. Just take it as a relaxation, Ziqian, who was walking at the front, said indifferently. He was leading the way aimlessly. The others did not have any objections. After the previous life and death battle, it was good for everyone to relax for a while. Long Rui quickly walked forward and stood side by side with Ziqian. He casually plucked a blade of grass and put it in his mouth. He asked, "What do you plan to do next? Will you leave directly?" Ziqian looked at Long Rui and asked, "What about you?" The blade of grass was bitten to pieces. A bitter taste spread from his mouth. "I don't plan to go back for the time being." Ziqian was somewhat surprised. Long Rui said, "I'm not stupid. Before coming, I was already prepared to be targeted. I just didn't expect their determination to be so strong." After a pause, Long Rui continued, "So, I won't go back. Neither will Fairy." Ziqian said, "I'll go north." "North?" Long Rui tilted his head and looked at Ziqian. "Yes, all the way north. As for where the destination is, I don't know." Ziqian said, "I will take the Holy Maiden with me. If you 2 want to go back, you can do so at any time." Long Rui shook his head and spat out the remaining half of the grass. His attitude was firm. Ziqian said, "Actually, it's not a bad thing for the 2 of you to go back. At least you can take care of us." Long Rui smiled, but his smile was somewhat bitter. The Lan family was too big. Even though his status as the future heir of the family was very high, it was not to the point where he could call the wind and summon the rain with one hand. Moreover, he was not the only heir of the Lan family. Once he died, there would naturally be a second successor to the throne. If he really went back, there was nothing he could do. He could only wait for the news of the Holy Maiden's death. Ziqian did not continue to persuade him. He respected Long Rui's choice. 2 days later, they saw a messy battlefield. There were corpses left on the battlefield. These corpses were not complete. Some were separated by sharp weapons, and some were gnawed by some kind of beast. The scene looked very cruel. Among these corpses, there were the elderly, women, and children. There were a total of 70 to 80 corpses scattered around. Even the few people who were decisive in killing looked at them with pity in their eyes. Looking at the traces of the battlefield, it should have happened 2 days ago. Noah turned around and said after a careful inspection, "Who did this? Isn't it too vicious and merciless?" Lan Hongyi's eyes were filled with anger. "If I see them, I will not let them go." Shan Yu's eyes also became much colder. "It is indeed a little hateful," Long Rui said. The blue dragon beast, who had fallen in Lan Guming's arms, moved its ears. It opened one of its eyes, but it quickly closed it again. Ziqian turned his head and looked into the distance. He did not see anything. "It is fate that we met. Let's bury them." Noah gently stomped his feet. The ground in front of them began to sink. Then, a wind appeared and gently wrapped the corpses on the ground. One by one, the corpses were placed in the deep pit. The corpses that could be pieced together were put together. After dealing with these corpses, Noah looked at Ziqian. Ziqian hesitated for a moment and said, "Let's go." He identified a direction. Looking at the traces, it was the direction where the killers left. The few of them did not say anything. During this period of time together, Ziqian was like a real leader. He always made the right choice at the most important moment. Zichun did not fly. He walked on the ground. The other 5 naturally followed. After walking for 5 miles, there was a sudden movement in the grass. Then, a person rushed out in a sorry state and fell to the ground. The few of them turned their heads and looked at the person. It was a child, about 5 or 6 years old. His body was covered in mud, and he looked very sorry. After he got up, he wiped his face. His already blurry little face was completely messed up. Zichun looked at the child with a complicated expression. The child's eyes were very bright. He looked very innocent, just like little Yangbao, whom he had met for the first time in the card tower world. After seeing the few of them, the child was clearly startled. There was a hint of panic in those innocent eyes. "Can I ask where this place is?" Zichun asked with a smile. He tried to be as gentle as possible. "Where is the nearest city?" The panicked child shook his head and said, "There is no city here. This is a cursed land." Hearing that, the expressions of the few of them changed. Could it be that they had just come out of that strange place, and now they were in another space? Subconsciously, they looked at Long Gu Ming. Long Gu Ming did not say anything. She just looked at the silent child. "Sister, you are so beautiful." The child's innocent eyes met Long Gu Ming's as he said from the bottom of his heart. Long Gu Ming was a little startled. She did not know how to respond. "What is your name?" Zichun asked again. His voice was still as gentle as ever. "My name is Yuan." Yuan asked doubtfully, "Uncle, how did you come to this cursed land?" He called Long Gu Ming's sister and himself uncle. Zichun touched his chin. Ignoring the strange looks of the few beside him, he said, "We accidentally came here. We don't know how to leave. Little friend Yuan, can you help us?" "Really?" Yuan looked at Zichun. He clearly did not believe him. Zichun nodded with a smile. Yuan's expression suddenly became serious. "If you want to leave this cursed land, there is only one way. You need to duel with the darkness. Are you prepared to fight the darkness?" "Fight the darkness?" Lan Hongyi came forward. "Little guy, you aren't talking nonsense, are you?" Yuan snorted. "If you don't believe me, then go ahead." This deliberate display of an old man's attitude was somewhat amusing. Zichun said, "In that case, please take us there." Yuan turned and said, "Come with me." He walked in front. Zichun looked at Yuan's back and did not say anything. Lan Rue walked to the side and said in a low voice, "A little guy who came out of nowhere. Is he reliable? Won't we know if we go take a look?" Zichun smiled and followed. Yuan heard the footsteps behind him. A smile appeared on his face. At the same time, a cold light that should not appear at his age flashed in the depths of his eyes. "We just left that place. Could it be that we really came to another cursed land?" Lan Hongyi followed. "Perhaps," Zichun said indifferently. He was actually a little distracted. Lan Hongyi glared fiercely at Zichun. After all, Yuan was still young. He could not walk for too long. Soon, he slowed down. Zichun glanced at Noah. Noah immediately went forward and carried Yuan. Yuan was a little resistant. There was a hint of vigilance in his eyes. Zichun said with a smile, "You're in charge of leading the way. We'll go full speed ahead. Don't worry. When we're about to reach the place, we'll put you down in advance. We won't let you take any risks." After hearing Zichun's words, Yuan was relieved. He pointed to the right and said, "We should enter the forest." Following Yuan's directions, the 6 of them entered the forest. After about an hour, they saw a tall mountain peak. On top of this mountain peak, there were many caves. The darkness is in those caves. Yuan's eyes were filled with fear as he pointed at the caves. Zichun signaled Noah to put him down. After getting down, Yuan quickly ran into the distance. "You guys go and deal with the darkness. I'll rely on you guys to break the curse." In the blink of an eye, Yuan had already disappeared, leaving behind the few people looking at each other. A sharp whistle suddenly sounded. With the sound of air breaking, it flew out from a cave and headed straight for Zichun. Swoosh! Zichun's figure flashed and disappeared. The attack that missed its target changed direction midway and swept towards the other people. Facing this unknown sneak attack, the few of them all chose to dodge. That attack turned around and came back. "You dare to come to our Kiara mountain and behave atrociously. You really don't know what's good for you. A cold laugh suddenly rang out as a person flew out of the cave. It was actually a soul realm expert. Zichun was a little surprised. One had to know that as long as one did not provoke a powerful faction, it was usually very difficult to meet a soul realm expert. At this moment, more lights flew out from the other caves. Each of them was a soul realm expert. In the blink of an eye, more than a dozen soul realm experts appeared in front of Zichun and the others. The soul realm expert in the lead quickly shifted his gaze away from Zichun and landed on the three women. His gaze became fiery. In the surroundings, the soul realm experts' gazes also became incomparably fiery as they stared fixedly at the three women. The three of them had different temperaments, and each had their own merits. My lord, it's been a long time since I've encountered such good goods. One of them looked at the holy maiden. He rubbed his hands and said, such good goods. After my lord plays with them, you can let us brothers have a good time, right? That's right, my lord. Such top-grade goods are extremely rare. Another soul realm expert said. The soul realm expert retracted his fiery gaze and snorted coldly. You know that these are top-grade goods. Is that something we can play with? Kill the men and bring the women back. When the time comes, Big Brother will arrange it. When the soul realm experts heard this, they seemed very regretful. The soul realm expert said again, don't worry. Since it's top-grade goods, then the rewards from above will definitely not be small. When the time comes, you'll naturally have a good time. Many thanks, my lord. The soul realm experts immediately cupped their fists, their eyes filled with excitement. Lan Hongyi was so angry that she gritted her teeth. Shan Yu's gaze also became extremely cold. Lan Guming looked at the few of them, her eyes like she was looking at dead people. But Zichun did not speak, so the few of them did not immediately make a move. Before we came, we saw dozens of corpses. Was it done by you guys? Zichun looked at the crowd and said, death is at hand, yet you're still so calm. This makes this lord a little surprised. The soul realm smiled proudly and said, it's fine to tell you the truth. Those people were indeed done by us from Kiara Mountain. The useless ones were killed, and the useful ones were brought back. But now, they should all be dead. After all, they're just ordinary women. They can't withstand the impact of so many people. Do you have any other questions? Seeing that you're about to die, and the women are going to be taken by us, this lord's kindness is great. I can answer you one more question. Zichun slowly shook his head and said, no. His eyes gradually turned cold. Leave none alive. After hearing Zichun's words, Noah was about to step forward. At this moment, Lan Hongyi, who was already unable to restrain her anger, said, don't move. Let this lady come alone. You want to sleep with this lady? Do you think you're Zichun? She flashed forward, light flowing around her body. Lan Hongyi was clearly in a rage, so the others all stopped. Then, they all looked at Zichun, their gazes a little strange. Especially Lan Rue, there was a questioning look in his eyes. Zichun's previous coldness had already dissipated. He spread his hands helplessly, as if replying to Lan Rue. What kind of personality is your sister? Don't you know yourself? Blue light flashed, and a head flew up. There was not even the necessary scream, and 3 Soul Void Realm experts had already died. Other than their heads, their bodies were also split into 2. There was not even an intact corpse. It could be seen that Lan Hongyi was really angry. On one hand, it was because these people had bad intentions, but more importantly, it was because of their tyrannical behavior. Although Lan Hongyi's personality was a little too cheerful, she was still a good person. She could also pull out her blade to help when she saw injustice. Pooh, pooh, pooh. Blood splattered, and several more Soul Void Realm experts were killed. This time, there were still no screams. They were all killed in one blow. However, there was a hint of fear on their faces. This was the only reaction they could make when facing Lan Hongyi, who was at the Soul Void Realm. Soul Void Realm. At this moment, the Soul Void Realm leader finally reacted. There was a hint of shock in his eyes. Then, he looked at the indifferent Zichun and the others. He knew that things were not good, and immediately retreated. You have to be the last one to die. Lan Hongyi's voice sounded again. A light flashed past the Soul Void Realm expert's body. Following the splattering of blood, the Soul Void Realm expert's arms were cut off. If you continue to run, it will be your legs. Looking at his arms that were instantly cut off, the Soul Void Realm expert's eyes were already filled with fear. The other party only sent out one person, and it was already so powerful. Then what about the others who did not make a move? Terrified, he could only cry for help. Big brother, save me. Zichen glanced at Shanya. Shanya nodded slightly, and her figure soared into the air, flying towards the mountain peak. At the same time, halfway up the mountain, a person who was supposed to leave quietly appeared. Iyuan, that child. He glanced at the scene below, and there was a hint of surprise in his eyes. However, there was more coldness. All of you deserve to die. The next moment, his figure disappeared from the spot, as if he had used an invisibility technique. Zichun, who had stayed below and did not make a move, raised his head and looked at the mountainside. He did not see anything. Chapter 3782. As the second in command of Garuda Mountain, Shanos had seen too many deaths. However, this was only limited to the people they tortured and killed, not their own people. Right now, seeing his capable subordinates die one after another, and none of them had a complete corpse left, a thick chill appeared in his heart. There were 6 people on the other side, but only one person made a move. Looking at the expressions of the others, they were all very calm and did not have the slightest bit of worry. Obviously, they were not weak. Shanos's heart was incomparably terrified. He secretly thought to himself, why would such a powerful existence secretly come to this place? Moreover, there was no news in the entire Luowei city. Right now, the only hope in his heart was his big brother. He hoped that he, who was also in the soul realm, could turn the tide. Right at this moment, an object fell from the sky and heavily smashed in front of him. The ground collapsed and smoke rose. When Shanos saw what was falling, he almost fainted from fright. It was actually his big brother, the leader of Garuda Mountain. Big brother, he shouted, his voice trembling. This was because he was frightened. His powerful big brother was actually beaten down just like that? Was it done by the beautiful woman who left before? How was this possible? That seemingly weak woman. How could she have such strength? The puffing sound disappeared, which meant that all the Soul Void Realm experts had been killed. The ground was littered with corpses, or pieces of corpses. The smell of blood filled the air. Lan Hongyi, who was not stained with blood, came to Shanos's side and kicked him down. Shanos's body was also smashed to the ground, falling together with the leader. With just you guys, you want to burn, kill, rob, and commit all kinds of evil? Lan Hongyi said coldly. Shanos lowered his head, not daring to look at Lan Hongyi again. This unbelievably beautiful woman was simply a demon in human skin. What about the others? Noah looked at Zichun and asked, I've killed enough. You take care of the rest. How can there be good people here? Leave no one alive. Without waiting for Zichun to speak, Lan Hongyi gave the order. There were many caves here, and there were humans in those caves, but their realms were not in the Soul Void realm. Noah glanced at Zichun again. After seeing that Zichun did not respond, he flew into the air. Obviously, this was a tacit agreement. The two of you, how do you want to die? Lan Hongyi stared at the two of them. Spare my life, spare my life. The leader who was knocked down by Shanya stood up and begged for mercy. It's fine if the others die, but the two of us must not die. Zichun looked at him and asked, Why? Are you innocent? The Soul Reality Realm leader said, To be honest, we are from Luowei City and are working for the Luo family. Luowei City? Zichun was slightly startled. He had never heard of this name before. Shanya and Nuaya didn't know either. Lan Gumming also didn't understand the meaning behind it. Instead, it was Lan Rue who frowned slightly and said, Luowei City is located in the north of Blue Sand State. Its geographical location is somewhat special. Rather than calling it a city, it would be better to say that it is managed by a single family. When the leader heard this, a smile appeared on his face. This brother is sensible. That's right. We are working for the Luo family. When Shan Luos heard this, he also smiled. As he stood up, his gaze subconsciously fell on Lan Hongyi. However, When he met her cold gaze, his body shrank and he hurriedly turned his head away. Would the manager of a city allow his subordinates to do such a thing? Zichen looked at Lan Rue. Luowei City is the main road to the north. It is very popular, and there are many merchants coming and going. In this world, no one would complain about having too many blue crystal coins. Lan Rue's words were somewhat helpless. Brother, you are right. Seeing that you are so insightful, why don't you join us? As for these three beauties, as long as you are willing to take the initiative to offer them to young Master Luo Long, I believe that your future is destined to be extraordinary. Perhaps, young Master Luo Long will be especially kind and give you a path to open on your own. When that time comes, you will naturally be able to reap endless benefits. The leader said somewhat regretfully, however, you can forget about keeping these three beauties. After the previous massacre, Lan Hongyi was no longer angry. She no longer cared about this guy's nonsense before he died. Even if Zichun was willing to let them go, she, Lan Hongyi, would not let them go. What do you want to do? Lan Rue looked at Zichun. The two bandit leaders also looked at Zichun with smiles, waiting for Zichen's reply. Zichen said, kill them first. We can talk about the rest later. The smiles on the two men's faces froze. What did you say? You want to kill us? The leader looked at Zichun and said, are you mistaken? We are from the Luo family. We are Luo Long, Pu. A soft sound rang out. Before the leader could finish his words, his head was separated from his body. Immediately after, several rays of light appeared and divided his body below his head into several pieces. He died without a complete corpse. This time, it was Lan Guming who made the move. Shanluo's body was trembling. Just a moment ago, he still had thoughts of revenge. For example, when he returned, he would fan in young Master Luo Long's ear and make things difficult for these guys. Or, he would pay a certain price and let him taint these three girls. Who would have thought that these fellows would kill without any hesitation? They did not show any mercy at all. He was about to open his mouth and beg for mercy. Lan Guming did not give him the chance. His body, which had already lost both arms, was divided again. Is that Luo family very troublesome? The two died one after the other. Zichen looked at the silent Lan Rue. Lan Rue said, to most people, it is a problem. However, to me, it is clearly not. No matter what, this is the Blue Sand continent. Puthong. At this moment, a sound came from behind them. When they turned their heads, they saw that the child who was supposed to leave had appeared out of nowhere and was kneeling in front of them. Their expressions changed. Only Zichun remained calm. At this moment, Yuan's face was filled with tears. Sorry, I lied to you guys. This is not the Cursed Lands. After knowing the place, everyone was clear of this point. The reason why I brought you guys here is because they killed my family. Yuan started to cry. My family is all dead. Not even a complete corpse was left behind. Everyone's expressions changed. It seemed like the corpses they met along the way were Yuan's family. They did not know how this pitiful child survived. I beg you to take revenge for my family. Yuan knelt on the ground and started to kowtow. In this life and the next, I am willing to be your cow or horse to repay this kindness. There were small stones on the ground. His forehead was already bleeding. Blood mixed with tears flowed down. He looked extremely pitiful. Chapter 3783. Zichen looked at the kowtowing Yuan and did not say anything. He remained silent. Zichen didn't say anything, so Yuan could only keep kowtowing. His forehead was already badly mutilated. Lan Rue was also silent. Or rather, he was waiting for Zichen to say something. In Lan Guming's arms, the blue dragon beast opened one of its eyes. It glanced at Yuan, then closed it again. Occasionally, shouts could be heard from the caves on the mountain, but most of the time, it was begging for mercy. Noah was cleaning up the tragic bandits on the mountain. My lord, I beg of you, please avenge my family. They died too miserably. Yuan cried as he kowtowed. Even if you didn't agree, you should have let him get up first. The silent atmosphere was broken by Lan Hongyi. She walked forward and helped Yuan up. Child, don't cry. Get up first. No, I won't get up. You are the most powerful lords I have ever seen. Please avenge my family. Yuan said, his face full of blood and tears. I don't ask you to destroy the Luo family. I only hope that you can kill that Luo Long. I already heard that he was the mastermind behind the scenes. Lan Hongyi immediately looked around. Her eyes seemed to say that it wasn't difficult to kill one person. Zichen still didn't reply. He looked very cold and emotionless. I know where their wealth is. I can take you to find it. I'll give you all the wealth. I only hope that you can kill Luo Long, Yuan said again. The word wealth made everyone's eyes change again. Let's take a look first. Zichen, who had been silent for a long time, finally spoke. He looked like a master who wouldn't act until he saw a rabbit. Lan Hongyi looked at him with a different expression. She seemed to be saying that she didn't expect him to be this kind of person. Zichen didn't explain anything. He just signaled for Yuan to lead the way. Yuan walked forward. However, after taking a few steps, he tripped. I'll carry you. Zichen raised his hand. A ray of energy appeared in his palm. It wrapped around Yuan's body and carried him into the air. Lan Hongyi, who had already walked over and was about to carry Yuan, glared at Zichen with dissatisfaction. Zichen didn't say anything and just signaled for Yuan to lead the way. The battle on the mountain was over. Noah had killed everyone. Noah, who walked out of the cave, did not look too good. Zichen, who was climbing up the mountain, said, Search the whole mountain. Take away all the valuable things here. Leave nothing behind. Where are the corpses? Noah asked. Keep it. Consider it a warning to those who come later. Under Yuan's guidance, the group headed towards the peak of the mountain. After reaching the highest point, they entered a cave. The cave was very spacious, and the stone walls on both sides were inlaid with luminous pearls, illuminating the path deep inside. Lan Guming and Shanya had already gone to the other caves to search. Lan Hongyi was obviously worried about Yuan, or rather, she was worried about what Zichen would do to him, so she followed them. Ever since Yuan's second appearance, Zichen had shown a cold side to him. He even showed hostility. Lan Rue also followed at the side. With their status, they naturally didn't care about these luminous pearls. They didn't even care about the spoils of war along the way. In their words, since they were young, what they needed to do was to cultivate and increase their strength. As for things like money, it had nothing to do with them. Zichen decided to dig out these luminous pearls after they came out. No matter where, these things were very valuable. As they went deeper, Zichen saw a few more rooms. The decorations in these rooms were different. The only thing they had in common was that the beds were big enough. On one of the beds, there was a naked woman lying there motionless. She was already dead, but she wasn't killed by Noah. Before he left, he had casually squashed her to death, like squashing an ant. Zichen's soul strength quickly swept through the entire cave. However, he only found a few blue crystal coins. It was not a small amount, but for a soul realm leader who robbed others, it was not a lot. There's a secret door here. Yuan brought Zichen and the other two to a room, then pointed at a huge portrait and said, although this was a cave, the decorations were more luxurious than many high-end residences. How do you know? Zichen asked in a calm voice. I was born with sharp senses. The reason why I was able to escape was because I felt something was wrong. I had a stomachache and went to the toilet. Yuan answered Zichen's question with a young voice. Lan Hongyi pushed forward, and the portrait and the stone wall began to retreat, revealing a passage. Her eyes were filled with curiosity. She lowered her head and said, I couldn't tell that you're a treasure hunter. Follow us from now on, and you'll definitely find a lot of good things. Yuan's eyes were red. He had lost his family and was a homeless person. Lan Hongyi's eyes were filled with regret. She shouldn't have said that and reminded him of something sad. Let's go and see what good things there are inside. Zichen took the lead and walked in. Inside was a passage that led downwards. Zichen seemed to be familiar with the place as he walked down. When they reached the end, they arrived at a stone room that was dozens of square meters. The stone room was shining brightly, and there were dozens of things placed inside. Zichen's gaze fell on a stone. It was about the size of a human head, and it flickered with various colors. It was like a large, colorful gem. Other than that, he didn't even look at the other things. This is a miracle stone? At this moment, a cry of surprise rang out. It came from Lan Rui. His gaze also fell on the stone. Lan Hongyi's eyes were also filled with disbelief. After her eyes fell on the colorful gem, she couldn't move them away. It was unknown if it was because of the light, but Yuan's gaze was also flickering. Miracle stone? What's that? Ziqin asked in puzzlement. It's a type of miracle that can be compatible with everyone's soul power. Lan Rui said excitedly, it's a supreme treasure material for refining soul weapons, and the soul weapons refined from it are also supreme treasures. Lan Rui pointed at himself and said, for example, if you give it to me, its function will be like the soul weapon I destroyed before. It can improve my illusions. If I give it to you, it can also strengthen your soul power attacks. If you don't believe me, you can try it now. Even if it hasn't been refined, its function is still powerful. Hurry up and try it. Only by personally experiencing it can you know how extraordinary it is. Lan Rui exclaimed, in my life, I've only seen a miracle stone once, and it's only the size of a palm. Under Lan Rui's urging, a light of energy appeared in Ziqin's palm and enveloped the miracle stone. The miracle stone slowly moved forward and fell into Ziqin's hand. In the next moment, a feeling of water merging appeared, as if this thing was originally his. Chapter 3784. This was a very wonderful feeling. So wonderful that Ziqin even had an illusion in his heart that he came here from the Saint Spirit realm for this. The two were so compatible, as if they were one. He tried to release a ray of energy, and the miracle stone in his hand immediately lit up. This time, it was no longer colorful, but lightning. Some of the dazzling lightning contained a powerful aura. As if using a soul technique, Ziqin's strength greatly increased. It really is a good thing. Ziqin let out a gasp of surprise. Yuan's lips curled into a smile, but it quickly disappeared. Of course it's a good thing. Lan Hongyi said, such a big piece can even be said to be a priceless treasure. Once others know about it, many forces will not hesitate to fight to get it. Ziqin put down the miracle stone. Without the support of Ziqin's soul power, the miracle stone continued to release a bright light. It was indeed extraordinary. Then, he turned to look at Yuan and said, you've heard it. This thing is priceless. Take it, and you can kill anyone you want. Maybe it's not impossible to destroy the entire Luowei city. Lan Hongyi suddenly opened her eyes wide in disbelief, as if saying, what are you talking about? Where can I find such a good thing? Are you going to refuse? Yuan shook his head and said, I don't trust others, but you are good people. I only trust you. Looking at the still hesitant Ziqin, Lan Rui said, if it's just killing Luolong, it shouldn't be a problem. Ziqin understood what Lan Rui meant. Of course, he would not miss such an opportunity. Even the future successor of the Lan family was moved, which showed how extraordinary it was. After pondering for a moment, he said, go and call Shanya over. Lan Hongyi said in dissatisfaction, are you ordering me? Nothing has happened between us yet. What right do you have to order me? Ziqin patted his forehead, somewhat speechless. In just a moment, Shanya and Noah appeared here at the same time, which made Yuan's immature expression change slightly. When the two came here and saw the things here, they were extremely shocked. It was just that with their eyesight, they could barely recognize anything. In this regard, the two of them shared the same view as Ziqin. Ziqin picked up the miracle stone and threw it at Shanya. Release your soul power and see what it feels like. Shanya took the miracle stone. She was a little confused, but she still followed Ziqin's instructions and poured some soul power into it. All the light on the miracle stone disappeared and was replaced by a faint white light. This kind of light was very faint, giving people an illusion. Perhaps this was the original light of the miracle stone. Shanya had a puzzled look in her eyes. She retracted her soul power and asked, what is this? Ziqin did not answer directly. Instead, he asked, how do you feel? Shanya said, I don't have a strong feeling, but it seems to resonate with me. Is this a material that can be used to forge soul weapons? Hearing this, Lan Rui was speechless. Somewhat compatible? What kind of joke was this? This was a miracle stone. For everyone, it was 100% compatible. Ziqin said again, Let Noah try. Shanya handed the miracle stone to Noah. Noah tried to release his power into it. In the next moment, the miracle stone bloomed with green light, and a powerful aura surged out. It was as if there were countless wind blades revolving around the miracle stone, making whistling sounds. Noah's eyes were brightening, and his mood became excited. His breathing gradually became faster, just like those guys who had died before, seeing a beauty. This was the correct way to react after seeing the miracle stone. Zichen's and Shan Yu's situations were abnormal. Longrui thought in his heart that Noah was insightful. Seeing this scene, Shanya also said, "Seems like it's something he can use." Longrui was speechless. This was really inexperienced. Zichun waved his hand, and the miracle stone flew over. He directly put it away. Then, he rolled up his sleeves and put away the rest of the items. Finally, he said, "The deal is done. We will go to Luo Wei City to kill Luo Long, but we need to plan before making a decision. During this time, you can follow us." Yi Yuan's eyes were filled with excitement. He was about to kneel again. Zichen waved his hand and said, "No need to be so polite. It's just a deal." After walking out of the dark room and out of the cave, Zichen, who saw the light again, was in a good mood. There was a smile on his face. "Let's go. We'll go to Luo Wei City first and find out some information about that young Master Luo Law." Noah immediately took out a map. It was the one he had obtained before. The exact location of Luo Wei City was marked on it. The group of 7 left. During this time, Noah took care of Yi Yuan. Along the way, Zichun deliberately took a detour. Clearly, he didn't want others to know that they were the ones who destroyed the group of bandits working for the Luo family. They already had the Ghost King as an enemy, and there were also those fellows from the Lan family eyeing them covetously. It was naturally better to have less trouble. After several days, when they were about to reach Luo Wei City, they stopped flying. It took them another 2 days to reach the outskirts of Luo Wei City. The prosperity of this place surprised Yichan. There were many caravans coming and going. There was an endless stream of horses and carriages. Occasionally, he would even see a soul void realm expert. In some of the larger groups, he could faintly sense the aura of a soul void realm expert. This is one of the main paths to Sacred Mountain. It's normal for it to be so prosperous. Longrui said, "Sacred Mountain? It's a place that contains the sacred talisman arts. Many descenders gather there. It's said that as long as one ascends Sacred Mountain, they can obtain all kinds of powerful sacred talisman arts." Longrui said, "That place is already the border of Blue Sand State. It's even past Blue Sand State." The meaning of Longrui's words was very clear. The Lan family could no longer touch Sacred Mountain. However, Zichen's focus was not on this. He asked curiously, "You're saying that there are many descenders there?" "There are indeed many of them. Are there many descenders here?" "I don't dare to say that there are descenders every year, but there are often descenders." Longrui said, "Although descenders don't have a good reputation, it has to be said that they have made great contributions in this world." Zichen's expression changed. It was because of him that they came here this time. It was said that no one from the Holy Thunder clan had come here for many years. Then, which faction did the people who came here often come from? And where did they come from? The group walked to the city gate. There were guards at the gate. Everyone who entered had to pay an entrance fee. Chapter 3785. Longrui had already prepared the blue crystal coins. The entrance fee was 2 per person. There were many caravans waiting to enter, and there was a long queue at the city gate. After entering the city, the prosperity of the city was even more unexpected. People came and went. Longrui had never been to this city before, and this was his first time here. But compared to the others, he was undoubtedly more experienced. So he first took everyone to find an inn to stay. Each person had a room, and the price was not cheap. If it was the previous few people, they would definitely be speechless. But not now. Although they had experienced many dangerous situations along the way, their harvest was also quite good. Once converted into blue crystal coins, the amount would be a lot. Longrui stayed in his room. A moment later, there was a knock on the door, and the person who came in was the inn's shopkeeper. "Greetings, Lord." The shopkeeper bowed to Longrui. Lan Rue waved his hand and said, "No need to be so polite. Are you the highest steward of Luowei City?" Guotong's face showed hesitation. Then it must be someone else. Seeing the change in the other party's expression, Lan Rue said, "I want to see him." After saying that, he threw out a token. This was Lan Rue's own token. Previously, he only said the family's secret code. The moment Guotong saw the token, his expression changed. This was because this was the highest level token among the direct descendants of the Lan family. It contained a golden light that could only be activated by a special secret technique. Only the people of the Lan family could activate it. Guotong took the token and bowed to Lan Rue again, then turned and left. A moment later, the token was in the hands of an old man. He was the highest steward of the Lan family in this city. Everything in the Lan family here was decided by the old man, including some of the power of life and death. The old man glanced at the token and distinguished it from a fake. He asked, "What did the person say?" He didn't say anything else. He directly said that he wanted to see Lord. Guotong replied. As the number one figure, Lan Haosho gently waved his hand, and Guotong tactfully retreated. Why did he come at this time? Is there a purpose? Lan Haosho frowned slightly. After a moment of silence, he left the room. About a quarter of an hour later, he appeared in Lan Rue's room. The moment he saw Lan Rue, his expression changed. He hurriedly bowed and said, "Old servant Lan Haosho greets young master." Lan Rue waved his hand and said, "Since your surname is Lan, you are not a servant. Get up quickly." Lan Haosho stood up when he heard the voice. Clearly, he did not expect that the person who came was the young master of the Lan family. "You've seen me?" This old servant had been to the family once and was fortunate enough to catch a glimpse of the young master from afar. "I didn't know that the young master would grace us with his presence. I hope the young master can forgive me for not going out to meet you." Lan Haosho cupped his fists and bowed again. His attitude was extremely sincere. Lan Rue said, "Today, I asked you to help me pass a message back. Only the patriarch can see this message." Lan Haosho stood up, his expression turning solemn. "Young master, please give me your orders." Lan Rue took out a jade slip that he had prepared long ago. There was already a seal on it. He said, "Send this back to the family. At the same time, tell the family head that I need a suitable soul weapon, as well as a set of female defensive armor. If my contribution points are not enough, then use this news to exchange for it." "Yes." Lan Haosho turned and left. "Wait." Lan Rue suddenly thought of something and said, "Tell me about the distribution of power in Luowei City. Also, tell me some information about the Luo family and Luolong." Lan Haosho's eyes flashed slightly. He nodded again and left. After leaving the inn and getting on the carriage, Lan Haosho became very worried. He looked at the jade slip in his hand and recalled what the young master said before. He couldn't help but mutter in his heart, could it be that the family already knows? So they sent the young master to investigate this matter? And inside this seal, perhaps the clue the young master obtained is inside? Looking at the jade slip in his hand again and again, Lan Haosho still did not have the courage to break the seal. What if it was a trap? After returning to his residence, he sent people out to make some arrangements. When he secretly sent out the message, he also obtained the information he wanted. A total of 7 people entered the city in the morning. Among them was a child. The young master did not reveal his identity and directly went to the inn operated by the Lan family. Since they just entered the city, why did they ask for information about the Luo family? Lan Haosho's heart was filled with confusion. Then, should I give him this information or not? After Zichan returned to his room, he took a comfortable bath. He was unfamiliar with this city, but he did not have to worry. After all, there were 2 Lan family disciples by his side. Moreover, if he was not wrong, this inn should be the property of the Lan family. Even if the Lan family had complaints about him in private, they would not do anything to him in the inn. He took out the azure jade token given by the Blue Star ancestor. The ancestor only said to take it out if there was a difficulty, but did not say how to use it. What Zichan did not know was that when he took out this blue jade token, a wave of information that even he could not perceive spread out layer by layer. The information wave spread through the inn, the streets, and even the city and was still spreading. After looking at the token a few more times, Zichun put it away. Not long after, Noah knocked on the door and entered. He wanted to exchange the things that everyone had obtained in this city. Zichun thought for a moment and said, "Then there is no need to go out again. Go directly to Lanrue. His people should be able to handle this matter properly. However, everything that we obtained last time is not allowed to be sold." Naturally, there was no problem for the Lan family to deal with these things. However, he was afraid that some people would secretly tamper with this matter, just like how the Ghost King's people attacked Zichun's group in that area. Noah obviously understood this and nodded. For Lanrue, this was a very small matter. He only needed to give instructions. Everyone took out the things that they did not need this time and waited for the conversion price. As if he knew that Lanrue's identity was not ordinary, the inn's manager, Guotong, personally took care of it. He was very detailed and thoughtful. In the evening, the information about the Luo family was in Lanrue's hands. Lanrue was not interested in the other forces. His gaze skimmed through and landed on the file of the Luo family. On it was written the many properties of the Lan family. As expected of a family force, their wealth was endless. The current city lord of the Luo family, Luo Haishan, was in the human soul realm. This was not surprising to Lanrue. With such a good place, if there was no human soul realm overseeing it, this place would have long been in chaos. Next was Luo Long. This was also one of the goals of their trip. After taking the benefits, they naturally had to kill Luo Long, the #1 genius of Luo Wei City. He was in the soul realm and had the title of the #1 soul realm in Luo Wei. His battle strength was unparalleled. He was usually kind and generous. His reputation was very resounding. It was rumored that he was fancied by a certain force in the Holy Mountain and was currently in the observation stage. Seeing the news, Lanrue frowned. If those bandits from a few days ago did not lie, Luo Long was definitely a devil. How could such a person have a good reputation? Chapter 3786. An invisible wave of information was transmitted out. Almost no one could sense this wave. The entire Blue Sand continent was enveloped. Almost no one could sense it, but there were always some special existences who could sense it. An ancient organization that had been silent for countless years had awakened. Lanrue walked out of his room and knocked on Zichun's door. He handed the information in his hand to Zichun. "Take a look. It seems to be very different from what we imagined." Zichun took the information and looked at it carefully. When he saw the part about Luo Long, he could not help but frown. Where did this information come from? Zichun, who was still looking at the information, asked. Lanrue said, "The family just sent it over. Is it reliable?" Zichun asked casually again. This caused Lanrue to be stunned. "Why do you ask?" Zichun put down the information in his hand and said, "The Lan family is indeed powerful, but the Luo family is the local snake here. As the saying goes, a strong dragon cannot suppress a local snake." Lanrue understood Zichun's words and said, "You mean to say that the Lan family and the Luo family are related?" Zichun raised his head and looked at Lanrue. "There is definitely a connection, but I can't guess what kind of relationship it is. Take this material, for example. It seems to have explained everything, but it didn't explain anything. For example, some of the Luo family's properties, how much are they worth? Another example is Luo Long. He is known as the #1 soul realm expert in Luo Wei City. What are his methods?" Lanrue's expression changed. He didn't think too much about it. He just felt puzzled. For example, the last sentence, "It is said that a certain power in the Holy Mountain has taken a fancy to it." But since it is said, why is there no other negative news? Of course, you can't say that there's a problem with your people. Zichun stood up and walked out. "Where are you going?" Lanrue asked. "Although we agreed to this deal, if we really killed someone who shouldn't have been killed, it would be hard for our conscience to forgive us. If the other party really shouldn't have died, then this deal will be canceled." Zichun opened the door and walked out of the inn. Whether it was good or bad, he would know. In the city lord's mansion, the current city lord, Luo Haishan, personally received this important figure with the surname Lan. "I wonder why Brother Lan has suddenly come here," Luo Haishan asked with a smile. He was well aware of the steward's personality. He didn't like others calling him by his name. Normally, he loved to hear people call him Brother Lon or Lord Lon. Lon Haosho glanced at the fine tea and snacks placed in front of him and said, "Between you and me, let's not beat around the bush. Has young Master Luo Long offended anyone from my Lon family recently?" Luo Haishan was stunned when he heard that and said, "What's Brother Lon talking about?" No matter how immature Luo Long was, he should know who to provoke and who not to provoke, right? What's wrong? Did something happen? Lon Haosho shook his head and said, "No, it's just that a direct descendant of the Lon family came to the city and asked about young Master Luo Long. Since he didn't provoke the Lon family, I'm relieved." Luo Haishan was a little surprised. After pondering for a while, he asked, "I wonder what realm that Lon family's direct descendant is in?" Lon Haosho said, "He should be in the Soul realm." Luo Haishan smiled when he heard that and said, "Could it be that he heard about my son and wanted to spar with him? After all, they're all young people. They always want to find an opponent of the same generation." Lon Haosho's eyes also lit up. It was not impossible. "How did Brother Lon reply?" Luo Haishan asked. "Of course, I spoke positively." Lon Haosho said, "You should be clear about your young master's personality. I'm afraid of offending the direct descendant of the Lon family, so I've arranged for some people to stay outside. Even if they don't believe me, they can send people out to investigate. The people I've arranged will take care of this matter. Brother Lon is wise. When my son comes back, I hope Brother Lon can recommend him." When Lon Haosho left, Luo Haishan gave him a small gift as thanks. After Zichun walked out of the inn, he looked around and then walked towards the bustling streets. He didn't ask anyone along the way. Like a passerby, he ate a few snacks on East Street and 2 skewers of phoenix wings on West Street. Of course, they weren't real phoenixes. He walked and stopped along the way. He went to a few shops, looked at some holy talismans, and asked about the price of a few soul techniques. Other than that, there was nothing else. He looked like a very normal passerby, but no one knew that Zichen's soul had already spread out. That rare sharp perception captured any abnormalities in his surroundings. During this period, if he wanted to listen to the conversations on the neighboring streets, he could clearly hear them. Therefore, those voices that suddenly disappeared when they talked about a certain person or a certain matter seemed especially sudden. Although he didn't ask a single question about Luo Long, Zichen already knew what he wanted to know after this trip. Looking at the darkening sky, the street lanterns had been hung up. The streets were brightly lit, as if it was daytime. In the attic, there were women dressed in loose clothing. They kept waving at the passers-by and casting seductive glances at them. Some rich guests were warmly received by the ladies and entered one room after another. Soon, those rooms were filled with some sounds that made one's heart beat faster. Zichun gave up on the idea of going over to investigate and blocked his perception in that direction and walked forward. Suddenly, the aroma of noodles wafted into Zichen's nostrils, causing the already full Zichen to feel even more hungry. He walked forward and saw a small restaurant at the corner of the street. The restaurant mainly served noodles, and the owner was best at sour soup noodles. The flickering oil lamp made the noodle restaurant a little dim. Zichen walked in. The restaurant wasn't big, and there were only 6 tables and 1 guest. The guest was eating noodles. The owner was an old man, and he handed a small dish to the guest. After seeing Zichun come in, the owner said, "A bowl of sour soup noodles?" Zichun nodded and smiled. "I came because of the fragrance." The old man gestured for Zichun to take a seat. There were no other waiters in the restaurant. The old man had 3 jobs: waiters, cooks, and shopkeeper. The guest eating was a burly man. In front of him was a big bowl, if it could still be called a bowl. He glanced at Zichun and asked, "First time here?" Zichun nodded and smiled. "I just arrived today." The burly man said, "I guessed right. People like us would order a big bowl with noodles and soup. Old Tang's cooking is very good. Otherwise, how can it be eaten? I'll try it first. If it's good, I'll come again tomorrow." Soon, a bowl of sour soup noodles was served. The bowl was half the size of the burly man's, but the amount was enough. It had the unique fragrance of sour soup. As usual, the old man gave Zichen a small dish of sour and spicy radish. It was sweet and crispy. "Old Tang, I heard that your family has been running a noodle shop here for generations. How many years has it been? Seeing that Ziqian had started to eat, the burly man and the shopkeeper started to talk about family matters. I don't remember how many years, but it's been more than a dozen generations. The old shopkeeper seemed to be reminiscing. For as long as I can remember, a bowl of noodles cost less than 1 blue crystal coin. But now, it's 2. We'll eat even if it costs 20, let alone 2. But why don't you want to continue passing down your good cooking skills? The burly man asked again. The old shopkeeper suddenly smiled and said, I thought about it before. No matter what, it's passed down from my ancestors. I can't throw it away, but I don't want to anymore. Zichun was curious. He raised his head and asked, Why? Don't you think it's a pity? The old shopkeeper said, No, it's not a pity at all, because there are things in this world that are more important than the teachings of our ancestors. For example, a certain important person. Speaking of people, Zichun thought of something and said, Old man, can I do something for you? Young man, please speak. The old man sat at the table next to Zichun. At this time, the strong man also finished the big bowl of noodles and even drank the soup. He turned his head and said, Old Tang's family has been running a shop for generations. As long as it's about this city, Old Tang knows everything. Zichun put down his chopsticks and said, I want to ask, do you know Luolong? Chapter 3787. The small restaurant was quiet for a moment. The flickering candlelight also seemed to have stopped. The shadows of the three were extremely long, looking like 3 clusters of shadows. The atmosphere was a little strange. Are you talking about the lawless second generation of the Luo family? Before the shopkeeper could speak, the strong man spoke. The candlelight flickered slightly, and the light also became soft. The strange atmosphere from before was like an illusion. I only know that he is the son of the city lord, but I don't know anything else. What kind of person is he? Zichun asked. Compared to those notorious people in history, he should be considered a good person, right? The strong man snorted and said, but he is still young. Maybe in a few years, the new generation will surpass the old generation and catch up with those old people. So, his reputation is very bad? Do you think an evil cultivator who relies on devouring lives to strengthen himself will have a good reputation? Especially that lascivious dragon of his, who knows how many good girls it has killed. The strong man looked at Zichun and said, You are so concerned about him. Is he your friend? There was obvious disdain in the strong man's eyes, and his previous enthusiasm was gone. Zichun shook his head and said, No, I just heard about him, so I asked casually. If he is not a friend, then he wants to spar with him. In addition to his lascivious dragon, his double wheel is also quite famous. He is not easy to deal with. After paying 2 blue crystal coins for a bowl of noodles and getting the information he wanted, he had to admit that this was a big gain. After walking out of the noodle restaurant, Zichun found that those people followed him and escorted him to the inn. The shopkeeper, Guotong, saw Zichun coming in and nodded to him, forming a good relationship. Zichun also nodded and smiled, then walked to his room. The corridor was quiet. Except for the waiter who served tea and water, no one else passed by. Lan Rue did not immediately come to ask for information. After returning to his room, Zichun began to cultivate. He did not have many talisman papers for cultivation, so he needed to buy some. Early the next morning, several people came to Zichun's room, including Yi Yuan. After closing the door, Lan Hongyi asked, How was it? When are we going to kill them? Zichun looked at Yi Yuan and said, We haven't gotten any valuable information yet. Let's wait a few days. Lan Hongyi looked at Lan Rue. Still no news? Lan Rue said, It will naturally take some time to gather information. How can it be so simple? Moreover, we still need to plan in detail. After all, this is Luowei City, their territory. Even if we succeed, how will we escape? Lan Hongyi nodded. What he said made sense. Revenge is important, but I hope that everyone can survive, Yi Yuan said. Lan Hongyi smiled and stroked his head. Yi Yuan said, I want to go out for a walk. Sure, Big Sister will accompany you, Lan Hongyi said with a smile. Noah, take Yi Yuan out for a walk, Zichun said. Okay, Noah nodded. Lan Hongyi looked at Zichun with dissatisfaction. She did not understand why Zichun did not like the poor child Yuan. Although he was not against him, he was not friendly either. If Lan Hongyi's perception was correct, this happened after the two soul realms died, and Yuan started to kowtow to them for help. Did he think that he had no backbone and knelt down so casually? Or did he think that his request for help made Zichun feel embarrassed? But he used a priceless treasure to exchange for it, right? It was a fair trade. It was not easy to come to this city, so everyone naturally could not stay idle. The three women decided to go out for a walk. Only Zichun and Lan Rui were left in the room. How was it? Lan Rui asked. After I went out, I was followed. Along the way, I encountered some conversations that were unfavorable to the Luo family. They would all disappear for no reason, only leaving behind some good words. Zichun said, those people escorted me all the way. According to the information I heard, that Luo Long is definitely not a good person. He has a dual-wield weapon and raises a Lu dragon. It is said that he has harmed many women. Lan Rui's expression became solemn. Since Zichun could obtain this information, there was no reason why Lan Haoshuo could not. Now it seemed that everything was as Zichun said. There was a close connection between the two. Then, could Lan Haoshuo continue to be trusted? What do we do now? Lan Rui asked. Let's wait and see first, Zichun said. Lan Rui nodded and said, that's fine. I got the family to give us a new soul weapon. Once we get it, our battle strength will naturally increase greatly. It won't be too late to make a move then. Although Lan Haoshuo was a bit disloyal, he did not dare to be negligent in the matter of passing on the news. After only 2 days, the news had already reached the family head's hands. Looking at the untouched jade piece, the family head unsealed it and saw the contents inside. His calm expression began to change little by little. Looking at the contents, there was surprise and anger. Although the contents and details of the battle were not described in detail, the family head could still imagine the situation of 9 deaths and 1 life. Otherwise, how could the powerful soul weapon of the Lan family be broken? I originally thought that you guys only had some complaints in your hearts and would occasionally cause some trouble. Who would have thought that you guys had such an idea? The family head's expression gradually became gloomy. He lightly pointed a finger. The jade piece began to emit light and an ancient piece of jade appeared. If Lan Xin was here, he would definitely recognize this piece of ancient jade. It was the piece that he sent out last time and had someone give it to the Ghost King. And the target of the tracking was Noah, who he had physical contact with when he was being unreasonable last time. Gather the upper echelons of the family. Quickly go to the conference hall. Today, a family meeting will be held. All the elders in the family must be present for the conference held in the name of the family head. Half an hour later, dozens of elders appeared. These elders all held real power and held high positions in the family. Their words were spoken with absolute authority. The Lan family head showed everyone the news that Lan Rui had sent back. The crowd, who were originally sitting in a relaxed manner, straightened their clothes and sat upright when they saw the ancestor of Blue Star appear. Everyone's eyes were filled with shock. The news that followed caught them off guard. The purpose of the Lan family's existence was to protect the heavenly daughter and let her grow up smoothly. At the same time that everyone was shocked, they also found it hard to accept this news. In Luowei City, Yuan went out early in the morning again. Noah was still by his side. This city was very big. The 3 girls were still strolling around the city. During this time, they bought many things that girls liked. Because of their appearances, the 3 girls always attracted a lot of attention wherever they went. Zichun also came to the noodle shop as usual and ordered a bowl of noodles. He wanted a large portion with soup and noodles. Chapter 3788. The conference hall became abnormally silent because this news was too shocking. Could it be that the Lan family was created by the ancestor of Cerulean planet just to nurture the fairy? The fairy was not the ancestor's daughter, but the ancestor's mission to protect? In an instant, the glory of the Lan family was shattered. Although everyone was not as depressed as Lan Rui, they were not much better. How could the powerful Lan family, the glory of countless people, become like this? The surroundings were silent. It was extremely quiet. Everyone's expression was very ugly. After a long while, an old man said leisurely, "I have to say, this joke is a little too much." The others looked at each other, their eyes flashing. They were all shrewd elders and quickly reacted. Each of them let out a long sigh of relief. Third elder, do you think this is a joke? The Lawn family head looked at the elder who spoke. The elder, who was ranked third in the Lawn family, said, "We understand Longrue's desire to protect the fairy, and we also support him. However, it's a little ridiculous to use such a joke in exchange for greater support." "Oh no, it's a little too much." "That's right, this is indeed inappropriate. It's too thoughtless and too childish," another elder said. Immediately after, the other elders nodded one after another, indicating that this was a joke. The ancestor of Cerulean Planet was very important to the Lawn family, but the news had already said that it was only a clone and had already dissipated. Although the ancestor's fate was unknown, it did not say that he was still alive. Relatively speaking, the power in the hands of the elders was real, and the resources were seen with their own eyes. In such a situation, who would be willing to share the meat that was in their hands? Not to mention the news of the ancestor, even if the ancestor gave a personal order, they would obey on the surface but disobey on the inside, unless the ancestor came personally. In the face of huge benefits, they could ignore the ancestor of the past. The elders all expressed their opinions, but the Lawn family head was unmoved. After a moment, he looked at the silent first elder and said, "First elder, what do you think of this matter?" "This matter is of great importance and needs to be decided again. Perhaps Rue really saw the ancestor's clone, but the truth might not be so. This child is stubborn and will say whatever he thinks. This matter is indeed suspected of being a joke." At this point, the first elder also expressed his opinion. The other elders nodded their heads in agreement. The Lawn clan master glanced at the elders and said, "Since everyone thinks that this is a joke, then let's treat it as a joke for now." This time, Rue and Hongi were in danger and suffered great losses. How about we use this information to exchange for 2 soul weapons from the treasury? Some of the elders' expressions changed slightly. They wanted to say something. At this moment, the great elder said, "Protecting the holy maiden is a meritorious deed, so it should be given." Those elders who were complaining in their hearts all shut their mouths. Just the loss of 2 soul weapons in the treasury was enough to make everyone treat this matter as a joke. There was no need to invest a large amount of resources to support the heavenly maiden. This was naturally a good thing. Since no one refused, the matter was settled. Then, the patriarch said, "There is one more thing that needs to be decided by the elders." He took out the piece of ancient jade. "This is the clan's tracking jade, and it's of the highest grade. This is the reason why Rue and Hongi were in such a dangerous situation." The expressions of the group of elders, who had calmed down earlier, changed drastically. This was no small matter. Murdering the successor of the clan was a serious crime. The target of the ancient jade is a person called Nuaya. He has been in the Lawn family for a few days, and there are no more than 3 people from the Lawn family who have spoken to him. The patriarch's gaze gradually turned cold. There are 6 of them, and only 3 of them are at the Soul Realm. However, the enemy sent out more than 10 Soul Realm experts, dozens of Soul Void Realm experts, and most importantly, 2 of them are at the Human Soul Realm. The elders were very clear about what such combat strength meant. To be able to survive under such a sure-kill situation was simply a fluke. I know that many of you are not willing to let the Holy Maiden live. I've only pretended not to see all the trouble you've caused. But this time, you actually dared to have designs on the successor. I need a clear explanation for this matter." With a bang, the patriarch slammed the ancient jade on the table. "If you can't give an explanation, then we'll use the clan's rules." Many elders' hearts trembled. The clan's rules clearly stated that once the successor was determined, internal strife was not allowed for any reason. As long as they were found, all those involved would be executed and all branches of the bloodline would be expelled. Up until now, the Lawn family had too many clansmen. For example, the dozens of elders in front of them represented dozens of bloodline branches. And behind them, there were many bloodlines. It seemed like everyone had the surname Lawn, but with the development of generations, the bloodline had long changed. Zichun entered the noodle restaurant again. The restaurant's business was very good, and it was already full of people. The burly man sat there alone. It was unknown if it was because of his burly figure, but no one shared a table with him. Zichun walked over and sat opposite the burly man. The burly man raised his head and glanced at Zichun. He said, "It's you, kid. Don't you usually come in the evening?" "I was bored and just happened to come out for a walk. I walked here and decided to come in and eat a bowl of noodles." Zichun stood up and took a plate of side dishes from the counter and sat down. A bowl of noodles and a plate of side dishes. This was the rule. At this moment, the old man, who had already become a chef, came out with 2 bowls of noodles. When he saw Zichun, he nodded at him. After putting down the noodles, he said, "Soup and noodles?" "Yes." Zichun responded and put a piece of radish in his mouth. It was still so refreshing. "Want a bite?" He looked at the burly man and said. The burly man curled his lips and said, "I don't drink during the day." Zichun said, "It's my treat." The burly man said loudly, "Old Tang, we'll make the noodles later. 2 jars of earth-roasted meat and a pound of beef." Zichun put down his chopsticks. "You really don't want to be polite?" The burly man laughed. "I see that young master has an extraordinary appearance and unparalleled talent. You must be from a rich family." Zichun rolled his eyes and said, "You can understand if you say it yourself." The burly man smiled embarrassedly and said, "One look and I know you're rich. You're just here for the novelty. It's a waste not to drink. If you miss today, you might not come tomorrow." Zichun gave the burly man a thumbs up. "Good eyesight. Old Tang, 4 jars of earth-roasted meat and 2 pounds of beef." "You're forthright. The people who came here to eat would not sit for long. They would leave after eating." At this moment, 3 people paid the bill and were about to leave. Suddenly, one of them exclaimed. At the entrance of this small noodle house, there were 3 beauties. The exclamations continued to rise and fall. The whole noodle house seemed to be brightened by these beauties. South of Luowei City, a small team of 5 people entered the mountains. The leader was a young man with a handsome face. His cheeks were slightly pale, showing an unhealthy color. He was Luo Long, the young master of Luowei City. "Let's go and see what good things Santos has prepared for us." Chapter 3789. There were 4 guards beside Luo Long. One of them stepped forward and said, "Young master, we received news earlier that a direct descendant of the Lan clan came to the city and wanted to meet you." The city lord asked young master to return immediately. Luo Long waved his hand and said, "It's just a direct descendant of the Lan family, not the Lan family's patriarch. Why should I care about him?" The guard said, "No matter what, we are still in the Blue Sand state. The Lan family occupies half of the sky here. There's still the other half of the sky. Besides, once I really join the sacred mountain, won't the Lan family have to think twice when they see us?" Luo Long snorted coldly and said, "If it weren't for the Lan family's reputation, would that old thing have the guts to snatch food from our tiger's mouth? Why should we give him a route? Which route isn't covered with blue crystal coins? How much has he benefited from us all these years? Let that direct descendant wait. Let's go find Shanos first. Maybe they have already found something good." The group of 5 quickly moved forward. Their goal was very clear. About a day later, they arrived at the designated place. The expected welcome did not appear. The surroundings were quiet, or rather, dead silent. "Where are they?" Luo Long frowned and said, "It seems that they have become more and more daring recently. When they see this young master, they don't even take the initiative to welcome me. Something doesn't seem right." A guard quickly moved forward and went deep into the forest. A moment later, his exclamation sounded, "Young master." The few of them moved forward and saw some corpses. They were the sole illusionary realm experts who had died back then and the 2 sole true realm leaders. However, their corpses had already been gnawed on. It was impossible to distinguish their original appearances. Luo Long looked at these corpses and then looked at the quiet mountain peak above. His face became gloomy. "Let's go and see what's going on." What they saw were still corpses. There were corpses everywhere. Not a single one was alive. Some were tortured to death, but most were killed in one blow. They had been dead for a long time. Let's see if there are any other clues. Killing intent surged in Luo Long's eyes. The four of them spread out and looked around, but they found nothing. Is this a double cross? Looking at the corpses all over the ground, Luo Long muttered in his heart. It wasn't that this kind of thing hadn't happened before, but after the Luo family was truly enraged and chased the enemy for thousands of miles, exterminating them along with their entire clan, it had never happened again. Could it be that after so many years, someone has already forgotten the dignity of the Luo family? Luo Long's eyes were filled with murderous intent. Let's go back first and find someone to investigate carefully. Once we find the culprit, I will exterminate his entire family. Damn direct descendant of the Lon clan. You're really a jinx, and you're in trouble the moment you arrive. Asterisk, 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 asterisk. It was the three girls who came to the noodle house. When Zichun saw them, he immediately stood up and waved at them. He was very surprised. I saw you on the streets earlier, but you disappeared in the blink of an eye. I didn't expect you to come here. Lan Hongyi stepped forward and sat down beside Zichun. Is this the restaurant you were talking about? It looks good. Lan Guming and Shanya also walked in. When they came closer, Lan Guming glanced at the brawny man. The brawny man's gaze met Lan Guming's, and he tactfully moved to the side, almost to the corner. The two girls sat down. The brawny man quietly gave Zichun a thumbs up, as if to say, "Little brother, you're strong." At this time, the other diners were looking at them with shocked expressions. Among them, there were a few gazes that landed on Zichun. Their eyes were filled with envy and jealousy. How lucky was it to be surrounded by such beautiful women? All of them wished they could kick him aside and take his place. The noodles here are very good. You guys should try it. Old Tang, 3 bowls of sour soup noodles. Zichun turned around and took 3 side dishes. Isn't there wine? Why are we eating noodles? Lan Hongyi saw Old Tang holding 2 dusty bottles of soju, so she took the initiative to take 2 of them. She placed one in front of Zichun and the other in front of her. With a light tap, the seal opened, and the fragrance of the wine spread. Zichun was slightly stunned. Lan Hongyi placed the other 2 bottles in front of Lan Guming and Shanya. This made the brawny man leaning against the corner, who only occupied 1 table, feel wronged. It seemed that Zichun had invited him to drink this wine. Old Tang, make the noodles later. Also, 2 more jars of soju. The soju was brewed by Old Tang himself, and it tasted good. Zichun had drunk it with the brawny man a few times before. The brawny man's name was Oli, and he was very forthright. He was the one who told him about Luo Long. Aren't you shopping today? Zichun looked at the 3 of them. These days, the 3 girls came out almost every day to shop and buy a lot of things. Whether it was good or not was secondary. The most important thing was that it was comfortable. It's boring. I don't want to shop anymore. Come, drink with me. Lan Hongyi poured the soba into a porcelain bowl and raised it to Zichun. She was such a beautiful woman, yet she showed her forthright side. Zichun also raised his bowl. At this time, Shanya and Lan Guming also raised their bowls. The porcelain bowls clinked, and the wine tilted slightly. The 4 of them drank it all in one gulp. This made the diners beside them even more envious. Oli, on the other hand, raised his glass with a hint of bitterness and drank a bowl alone. After drinking a bowl of wine, Zichun felt as if his stomach was on fire. The 3 women's cheeks were also slightly red. Their originally beautiful faces seemed to have an additional sense of intoxication. Lan Guming picked up the second bowl of wine and stood up. She raised the bowl full of wine, looked at Zichun, and said sincerely, "Little Mute salutes you with this cup of wine." Zichun quickly stood up and drank it all in one gulp. Oli also stood up quietly and drank a bowl alone. At the lively table, he drank so solitarily. He was the only one. After the second bowl of wine, Lan Guming's cheeks were like the sunset glow. This made this otherworldly heavenly girl seem to have a bit more of a worldly aura. Come, Zichun. I also salute you. I said that you were a coward before. It was my fault. I take back my disrespectful words. Lan Hongyi picked up the bowl full of wine. Zichun could only raise his bowl. Lan Hongyi continued, in my eyes, You are no longer a coward. You are worse than a beast. After saying that, Lan Hongyi drank it all in one gulp. Zichen's hand hung in the air. He looked stunned. He didn't know whether to drink or not. He remembered an illusion about being worse than a beast. Oli obviously didn't know this. He kept sneaking glances at the two of them, as if he wanted to see something. Looking at the stunned Zichen, Lan Hongyi said, "Drink. What are you waiting for? You are just worse than a beast. Next time, just take the initiative." Then, the three women laughed. Zichen was a little depressed. He drank the wine in his bowl. What was this? At some point, the noodle house was empty. Old Tang stood at the side, leaning against the counter and laughing foolishly. After 3 rounds of drinking, Oli joined in. After all, they weren't drinking his wine. He even shamelessly toasted the 3 beauties. The beauty's return made him even more flattered. "Old Tang, how about a bowl?" Zichen looked at Old Tang, who was laughing foolishly at the side. "Okay, let's drink a bowl." Old Tang seemed to be affected by the atmosphere in front of him. It was rare for him to be so bold. The 3 women continued to return the toast and drank happily. Oli picked up his bowl again. He looked at Zichen and said, "The guy you asked about a few days ago, Luo Long, hasn't returned yet. However, he should be back soon." Zichen nodded. After learning about Luo Long's character, the deal was done. At some point in time, Noah had also brought Yuan here, so he joined in as well. Not long after, Lan Rue also came. Everyone was present. Except for Yuan, the others were drinking freely as if they were playing like crazy. Yuan looked at them quietly. There was a calmness in his eyes that matched his age. "Today, we won't go home until we are drunk." Zichen, who was a little drunk, said, "We won't go home until we are drunk." Everyone raised their bowls in unison. They didn't know whether the road ahead would be difficult or dangerous. They didn't even know what tomorrow would be like. On this rare day of relaxation, Zichen also enjoyed the happiness in front of him. Luo Long finally returned. Chapter 3790. It was not an exaggeration to describe Luo Long's return as a complete mess. On his way back, the streets were in chaos. Luo Long was like a king returning to the mountain, immensely pleased with himself. However, he soon received a message, and the huge commotion slowly disappeared. After returning to the city lord's mansion, Luo Long saw his father and the person in charge of the Lan family in this city. "Father, Uncle Lan is here too." Luo Haishan looked at Luo Long with a hint of dissatisfaction in his eyes. "I told you to come back quickly. Not only did you come back so late, but you also caused such a huge commotion. Are you afraid that people don't know who you are?" "Father, I have something important to say." Luo Long's expression became very serious. At the same time, he glanced at Lan Haoshuo. "Brother Luo, I still have something to do. I'll take my leave first." Lan Haoshuo cupped his fist and said, "Brother Lan, don't be in such a hurry. Let's see what this little bastard has to say." Moreover, Brother Lan is not an outsider. Luo Haishan glared at Luo Long with dissatisfaction and said, "If you have something to say it quickly." Luo Long naturally knew the relationship between his father and Lan Haoshuo. Hence, he did not avoid it and said directly, "Kiara Mountain has been massacred." "What did you say?" Luo Haishan's expression changed. Lan Haoshuo was also slightly stunned. He had interacted with the Luo family for many years, and even had many shady dealings. Of course, he knew what Kiara Mountain meant. Such a place was massacred? Everyone is dead. Not a single person is left alive. Luo Long said coldly, "Father, send someone to investigate. You must find the culprit." "How long has it been?" Luo Haishan asked with a ruthless look in his eyes. Every road meant countless blue crystal coins. Now that Kiara Mountain had been massacred, it was equivalent to someone touching the Luo family's blue crystal coins. How could he let it go? "It should have been more than 10 days. Luo Long said, "The culprit must have come prepared. Otherwise, those people would have sent out a message." Luo Haishan snorted. "They must have a death wish." Then, he apologetically cupped his fists at Lan Haoshuo and said, "Brother Lan, such a big thing has happened. I have to deal with it properly. As for the recommendation, Lan Haosho waved his hand and said, "There's no need to rush. We can make other arrangements." After that, Lan Haosho bid farewell and left. Luo Haishan sent him off all the way to the outside of the manor. On the carriage, Lan Haosho fell into deep thought. The Luo family had dominated this city for many years, and no one dared to make trouble for them. Then, who was the one who did it at Mount Garuda? Who had the guts to provoke the Luo family? By the time Zichun and his group returned to the inn, the sky had already darkened. This was a rare moment for them to relax. Since Luo Long had returned to the city, it was time for them to come up with a plan. After returning to the room, Zichun fell into a deep sleep due to his drunkenness, and so did the others. Comparatively speaking, Yi Yuan was the most clear-headed. It was getting late. He stayed in his room and looked at the sky. A smile appeared on his face. The next moment, his figure disappeared. An undetectable shadow walked in the night, and no one could see it. He went straight to the city lord's mansion. The heavily guarded mansion was nothing to this child. He familiarly passed through one house after another, and finally arrived outside an independent courtyard. The lights here were lit, and there was an undisguised sound coming from inside the house. It was unknown whether the sound insulation was bad, or the noise was too loud. Yuan paused for a moment. When the sound in the house became louder, he raised his hand and threw out an object. A very sharp whistling sound was heard. It was unknown whether the high-pitched sound was frightened, but it came to an abrupt stop. "Which reckless fool is this?" Luo Long's angry voice came from the room. He walked out of the room with disheveled clothes. He didn't see anyone, but he saw a small piece of paper wrapped around a stone. He picked it up doubtfully. He didn't need the light to see the words on it. The next moment, his expression changed greatly, and his eyes surged with endless killing intent. "You dare to provoke me? Even if you're from the Lan family, you must die." Lan Haosho knew very well what Kiara Mountain was for. He also had a path that belonged to him, just like Kiara Mountain. This time, Kiara Mountain was destroyed for no reason, which made him a little worried. Once this matter was exposed, it would have a great impact on him. In addition, it would be a heavy blow to the Lan family's reputation. When that time came, not only would the Lan family take away the family name, he might not even be able to survive. Just as he was worried, there was a sudden knock on the door. Lan Haosho's heart tightened. It was late at night. Who would knock on his door? "Who is it?" he asked softly, a little nervous. "Lan Kangmeng." A voice came from outside the room. "Lan Kangmeng?" Lan Haosho was stunned at first, but then he reacted. The big shot of the Lan family had arrived. This made his expression change again, and he actually had the thought of escaping. However, he quickly dismissed the idea. Where could he run to in the blue sand continent? He hurried to open the door. A middle-aged man was standing outside. "Why are you sitting in the room in the middle of the night in a daze instead of sleeping?" Lan Kangmeng looked at Lan Haosho and asked, "I can't sleep. Why is Lord here? Did something happen?" Lan Haosho asked cautiously. Lan Kangmeng walked forward and sat where Lan Haosho was sitting. "Do you still remember who gave you the family name, Lan?" Lan Haosho's heart skipped a beat, and cold sweat immediately overflowed from his forehead. He knelt on the ground and said, "It was the third elder who gave it to me. I, Haosho, will never forget this kindness." "Don't be so nervous. It's good that you remember. Let me ask you, is Lan Rue in Luowei City?" Lan Kangmeng was very satisfied with Lan Haosho's performance. It seemed that he hadn't forgotten his roots. Aside from young Master Lan Rue, there's also Miss Hongi. Lan Haosho directly mentioned Zichen's group. The information was very accurate, and he didn't dare to be careless. As he spoke, he gradually organized his thoughts. Perhaps he was too nervous. The Lan family didn't come because of the matter of Kiara Mountain. Lan Kangmeng gently knocked on the table. After listening to Lan Haosho's words, he said, "It seems that you know quite a lot. Now, there's something I need you to do. Please instruct me, Lord." Lan Haosho's heart was completely clear. It seemed that he had scared himself this time. "Make those people disappear from Luowei City forever." Chapter 3791. Lan Haosho, who had just stood up, was once again scared to the point of kneeling on the ground. It would be better if they were here to denounce him. If he confessed everything, he might be able to get lenient treatment. However, if the successor of the Lan family were to disappear directly, people would die. Moreover, it would be a whole family that would die. This old servant doesn't dare. This old servant will never dare to be disloyal. Lan Haosho said with a sobbing tone, "The heavens can bear witness to this old servant's sincerity. I was born as a member of the Lan family, and I will die as a ghost of the Lan family. I'm not here to listen to your heartfelt confession. Qian is already dead." Lan Haosho heard a sigh. When he raised his head, he saw tears welling up in Lan Kangmeng's eyes. Qian's full name was Lan Qian, Lan Kangmeng's son. He was also the one who went to look for Ziqian in the Lan family to make trouble. The family head needed an explanation. For the sake of the family's interests, they gave him an explanation. He had sacrificed Lan Qian and a portion of the profits to protect the Third Elder's faction. Lan Haosho didn't know what had happened, but Lan Kangmeng's sadness couldn't be faked, so this wasn't a test. But even if it wasn't a test, so what? Even if he was given 10 more guts, he wouldn't dare to make a move against the heir of the Lan family. This was a crime that could lead to the extermination of an entire clan. Since I've come in person, it means that there's no turning back for this matter. If this matter succeeds, I guarantee that you won't die. If it fails, both of us will die. Lan Songmang stared into Lan Haosho's eyes and said, "I don't care what you do in Luowei City. As long as you succeed, even if you want to become the city lord of Luowei City, it won't be a problem. You can even change the name of this city to Haosho City. But you have to do it." Lan Haosho's expression began to change. Lan Kangmeng said, "I'll give you a day to consider. You can't touch anyone from the Lan clan. You need external help." After Lan Kangmeng left, Lan Haosho stood there for an entire night, not moving at all. When the sky brightened, he let out a sigh, feeling as if he had aged a few hundred years in an instant. It was obvious that if he did not agree to this matter, the Lan family would pursue the matter of him in Luowei City. This would damage the Lan family's reputation and could be considered a capital offense. Moreover, he couldn't use the people from the Lan family, so he had to use the people he had painstakingly nurtured over the years. This was a path that Lan Kangmeng had given himself. He was willing to bet everything he had. If he succeeded, his future was destined to be glorious. If he failed, everything would come to an end. This was a gamble with no way out. There was no other choice. He left the room and went to the city lord's manor. He wanted to find out more about the other party and find a way. After entering the city lord's mansion, he found that the atmosphere here was a little strange, as if there was a murderous aura everywhere. Lan Haosho was somewhat puzzled. When he entered the hall, he saw that Luo Haishan's expression was extremely ugly. When he looked at him, there was even hostility in his eyes. Luo Long coldly snorted. "What happened?" Lan Haosho asked curiously. Luo Haishan gestured for Luo Long to leave first. After the other party left, Luo Haishan lowered his voice and said, "Brother Lan, do you know about the bloodbath at Garuda Mountain? Didn't I tell you yesterday? Why? Have you found the culprit?" Lan Haosho asked in confusion. "It's the direct descendant of the Lan family who lives in your inn." Luo Haishan coldly said, "He's asking about my son, not to spar, but to kill my son." "What?" Lan Haosho's expression changed. Clearly, he did not expect this. However, immediately after, he was overjoyed. The matter that had been troubling him for the entire night had now taken a turn for the better. Why did they do that? Although he was overjoyed, Lan Haosho did not show it. "I'm not sure. It seems like they met by accident and both parties fought," Luo Haishan said. "Where did the news come from, City Lord? Is it reliable?" "A mysterious person left it behind. Whether it's reliable or not, the news is definitely true. City Lord, what do you plan to do?" Luo Haishan's expression became gloomy. "The Lan family actually dares to attack us. They've gone too far. Naturally, I can't watch my son be killed. If there's no other way, I'll go to the sacred mountain to ask for help and fight them to the death." Sensing Luo Haishan's killing intent, Lan Haosho pondered for a moment before saying, "Brother Luo, there's no need to be so agitated. Perhaps this matter is not as big as we think. Luo Haishan looked at Lan Haosho in confusion. Lan Haosho gently raised his hand and shot out an energy light that isolated probing. He said, "If we make those people disappear from Luowei City, wouldn't everything be solved?" Luo Haishan's pupils shrank. He said, "The Lan family will definitely investigate the disappearance of the Lan family's people in Luowei City. When the time comes, it will still be a battle to the death." Lan Haosho pondered for a moment before saying, "I'll think of a way to ensure that no one from the family will blame us. However, does Brother Luo have the guts to make a move?" Luo Haishan looked at Lan Haosho and did not speak. Lan Haosho said, "Don't worry. This is not a test. You and I have worked together for many years. Don't you trust me? Furthermore, this matter involves our interests. Once the matter outside of Galwa Mountain is exposed, I'll be done for. Therefore, you don't have to be wary of me. You and I are on the same side now." Lan Haosho's words were extremely sincere. Luo Haishan naturally believed him. He said indifferently, "As long as our Luo family is not implicated, I will definitely kill that little thief." With this promise, Lan Haosho's mood became much better. When he left the city lord's mansion, he felt that his footsteps had become lighter. On the same day, he gave Lan Kangmang an answer. Lan Kangmang did not expect that Lan Rui would do such a thing. He was very satisfied. Next, it was time to discuss countermeasures and how to make a move. They could also ensure that no one would be implicated after the matter was over. This matter must be foolproof. Tell the Luo family not to hold back. They must use their full strength when making a move. With the previous example, Lan Kangmang had to be very careful, because if he made a mistake, the branch of his family would be consigned to eternal damnation. Ever since that day when he was drunk, Zichun did not go to the noodle house again. He had been cultivating in his room. During this period, Lan Hongyi came to urge Zichun several times. She wanted him to come up with a plan. After all, they had already taken the item. They could not just leave things be. Although Yuan did not urge her, Lan Hongyi felt very sad when she thought about how he had lost all his family members. She wanted to help him take revenge as soon as possible. But Zichin's answer was to wait, or to cultivate. At the same time, he also forbade the three girls from going out on the streets. It could be considered as a forced cultivation. Shanya and Lan Gumeng did not complain. Lan Hongyi resisted several times, but it was to no avail. She could only accept her fate and start cultivating. As for Lan Rui, he had been a little worried recently. It had been so long. The soul weapon he wanted should have arrived long ago. Why was it still not here? Could it be that something went wrong? Before Zichun had a plan, Lan Haosho had already come up with a countermeasure. On this day, Lan Haosho hurriedly came to inform Lan Rui that the Lan family's team had been ambushed. This team was escorting goods on the surface, but they were secretly escorting the soul weapon he needed. When Lan Rui heard the news, his expression changed. A soul weapon was stolen. This was a big deal. At this time, Zichun opened his eyes. What should come will come. It's time to go. Chapter 3792. The few of them had already made their preparations and were ready to go. Zichun looked at Yuan and said, "You can stay in the inn. We'll be back soon." Yuan shook his head and said, "I'll be scared if I stay here alone." Zichun nodded. "All right then. Noah, you bring him along." The group of 7 people walked out of the inn. Lan Haosho was already waiting outside. His expression appeared very anxious. This was Zichun's first time seeing the person in charge of Luowei City who gave a false information. "Young master, actually, I can send people to receive this matter." Coming close, Lan Haosho lowered his voice and said. Lan Rui shook his head and said, "Let's go take a look. After all, it's not an ordinary thing." The soul weapons given to Lan Rui and Lan Hongyi naturally would not be ordinary goods. "Then let's go together?" "No need." Lan Haosho waved his hand. A person walked out from the shadows. He was the guide this time. Following that, the group left Luowei City and flew towards the south. The Lan family's caravan being ambushed was a very small probability thing, but it was not like it had never happened before in history. As they advanced, Lan Rui discovered that the group of people had already left the main road and flew towards a remote forest. He frowned slightly and asked, The escort mission isn't on the main road? The person leading the way said respectfully, it was originally on the main road. But after the battle broke out, we entered the forest to deal with the enemy. This explanation was also reasonable. Long Rui nodded his head. Zichun did not speak. At this moment, his essence, energy, and spirit were all in peak condition, ready to participate in a large-scale battle at any time. Going deep into the forest, the more they walked, the more remote they became. Just as the doubts in Long Rui's heart increased, they finally saw the team that was ambushed. Only a mere 2 people were fighting. One of them was at the Soul Void Realm, and the other was in existence below the Soul Void Realm. Scram! Long Rui roared angrily. His figure flew forward swiftly, like a bolt of lightning, forcefully entering the battlefield. Boom! Accompanied by a powerful surge of energy, air waves rolled and scattered in all directions. Those enemies were sent flying one after another. There was fear in their eyes. They didn't expect such a powerful ally to come. Looking at the corpse on the ground, Lan Rui's eyes were filled with a cold, killing intent. A ripple of light spread out from his body and flew into the distance. Any existence that came into contact with these ripples of light had a confused look in their eyes. A ray of light swept past their bodies. Puff, puff, puff. Blood splattered everywhere, and the stench of blood filled the air. Those existences whose souls were affected died one by one. At the back, a soul corporeal realm cultivator in charge of holding the fort immediately widened his eyes in disbelief. He was originally indifferent, but at this moment, he looked ahead. After seeing that his subordinates were killed in an instant, fear grew in his heart, and he turned around to flee. Suddenly, he saw a beautiful woman in front of him. He was slightly taken aback. Then, he saw the beautiful woman raise the large sword in her hand and slash downward. Countless rays of blue light were released from the large sword. A powerful pressure pressed down on the Soul Reality Realm expert's heart. It was like a huge wave crashing down on him, making him feel a little suffocated. Faced with this life and death pressure, the Soul Reality Realm expert shouted loudly. The soul power around him began to surge and spread out like waves. The pressure that made him feel uneasy immediately disappeared. Then, he punched out. A dazzling fist light erupted from the fist. It was just as terrifying. After punching out, the Soul Reality Realm expert's heart calmed down a little. Even if this girl of unknown origin was powerful, he wasn't much weaker. When the 2 attacks collided, a huge tremor sounded. The Soul Reality Realm expert only felt a terrifying force sweep over and instantly extinguish his fist light. In the next moment, a huge force shook, and he coughed out blood and flew backward. With just one strike, the Soul Reality Realm expert was defeated. The blue light around Lan Hongyi flashed again, revealing an ethereal figure as she chased after him. The second strike seriously injured the Soul Reality Realm expert. The Soul Reality Realm expert, who thought that he was on par with Lan Hongyi, had eyes filled with fear. Lan Hongyi's third strike arrived. The large sword fell from above with a mighty aura. The Soul Reality Realm expert resisted with all his might, but in the end, he let out a miserable cry. 3 strikes and he was dead. At this moment, the battle on the other side had also ended. All the existences who came to offend the enemy were killed. After surviving the calamity, the 2 survivors' faces were filled with joy. The Soul Reality Realm expert said respectfully to Lan Hongyi, "Thank you for saving us, sir. Fortunately, we didn't let you down. The soul weapon is still here. Please check it." The Soul Reality Realm expert took out 2 soul weapons. One was a blue sword. Zichun had seen it with his own eyes. Back then, in the Lan family's treasury, he wanted to take it. In the end, the other party was unwilling and disappeared on his own. He didn't expect that the Lan family would actually send this weapon over this time. The other was a battle armor. It seemed to be made of countless colorful feathers. It was magnificent. This was also the famous soul weapon of the Lan family. It was called the Rainbow Feather Coat. Its defense was astonishing. According to the contribution points that the 2 of them had left in the family, it shouldn't be enough to exchange for these 2 weapons. Looks like that news worked. Lan Hongyi thought to himself and reached out to take the soul weapon. Right at this moment, a faint voice suddenly sounded out. How do you know that the soul weapon is for him? Hearing this voice, Lan Hongyi was slightly taken aback. His outstretched hand stopped. Zichen walked forward and said with a smile, "What if it's for me?" That soul reality realm clearly did not expect that such a scene would actually occur. His expression changed slightly and he said, "Of course it's for His Excellency. Who do you think you are?" Zichun did not get angry in the slightest and continued, "How many of you came this time?" "What do you mean?" The other party's eyes clearly had vigilance. "Such a precious thing, and you didn't even send out a soul reality realm. Clearly, you don't want people to know about this. Since it's a secret, why do you, a soul reality realm, know what's being escorted?" Zichen's eyes gradually turned cold. Even if it's acting, it should be more realistic, right? Why? Could it be that you guys can't even bear to sacrifice a soul reality realm? That soul reality realm expert's expression changed drastically, subconsciously wanting to retreat. Suddenly, a hint of confusion appeared in his eyes. Lan Hongyi made his move. A beam of light flashed across the other party's body. Without the slightest hesitation, killing decisively. As for that existence that was still alive, he had a look of horror. He was scared out of his wits because he did not know at all. Whoosh! A sharp howl suddenly sounded out. A cold light headed straight for Lan Hongyi. Lan Hongyi's figure flashed, avoiding this attack. Poo work. This attack closed in, landing on another person's body, instantly piercing through. Chapter 3793. Lan Rui's figure flew back. After dodging the sneak attack, his expression gradually turned ugly when he saw the dead existence. The escorting soul weapon fell to the ground, but he did not look at it again. Clearly, this was a trap targeted at them. Sounds came from both sides. Someone flew over from afar. There were many figures standing in the air. There were dozens of people. The weakest of those who could fly were at the Soul Void realm. Lan Rui raised his head and looked at the crowd. His eyes gradually turned cold. What's going on? Noah was slightly stunned and protected Yuan behind him. Zichen glanced at the expressionless Yuan, then walked forward. Shanya and the others followed. The encirclement began to shrink. Zichun looked into the sky, his gaze sweeping past one existence after another. This time, the opponent had clearly put in a lot of effort. They had sent over 20 Soul Void Realm experts. Killing intent surged in these people's eyes, but they did not immediately attack. They seemed to be waiting for something. "You're the one who wants to kill me?" A faint voice sounded. Another person appeared in the sky. This time, it was a young man. His face was slightly pale, and there was a hint of cruelty in his eyes. "You bathed my Mount Garuda in blood and stole my things. Now you want to kill me, right? You're Luo Long?" Lan Rui stared at him. "Who else?" The young man descended from the sky, killing intent surging in his eyes. "Today, none of you will live." However, when his gaze swept past the three women, his eyes lit up. "I didn't expect that there would be so few of you, but the quality of the women beside you is so high. I take back what I said earlier. The three of you will die. I'll keep these three beauties for myself to enjoy." Luo Long pointed at the child Yuan and said, "This half of you will die too." The ambush this time was out of everyone's expectations. At this moment, everyone's expressions were somewhat nervous. Zichen looked at Luo Long and said, "Who else are you hiding? Hurry up and come out." Luo Long said disdainfully, "Our people are enough to kill 3.5 of you." Zichen also responded with a disdainful sneer. "If there were no human soul realm experts backing you up, even if we lent you a few more guts, you wouldn't dare to scheme against us." "What did you say?" Luo Long's eyes narrowed as boundless killing intent surged within them. Zichun did not pay any more attention to the other party. Instead, he looked into the distance and said, "It's already very shameless for a human soul to team up with a bunch of people. Why aren't all of you showing yourselves now? Could it be that you want to hide in the dark and launch a sneak attack?" Zichen's words were very blunt. Obviously, he had no intention of showing any mercy. "You have a sharp tongue, but I wonder how strong you are." A calm voice sounded from behind, and another person walked out. This was a middle-aged man called Zhu Feiming. He had a great reputation in Luowei City and could be considered an existence second only to the city lord. Unfortunately, Zichen's group did not recognize him. "Just you?" Zichen looked at him. Zhu Feiming said, "What else? Since you're able to ambush us here, you're naturally aware of our methods. If it's really you, a mere human soul, how could you have the guts to stand before us?" Zichen looked at the forest ahead and said disdainfully, "It's not like you're a dog. Do you have to bark one by one before you come out?" Upon hearing Zichen's words, Yi Yuan's youthful expression changed. With so many Soul True Realm experts and a human soul, Zichen should be under a lot of pressure, but at this moment, his expression was so relaxed. In contrast, the ones who were nervous were those who had an absolute advantage in numbers. Another person appeared in the dark. This time, the human soul was somewhat similar to Luo Long. It should be his father, the current city lord of Luowei City, Luo Haishan. "Young man, your cultivation realm is not worthy of your current tone," Luo Haishan said indifferently. Zichen's lips curled into a mocking smile. "If you were at the same cultivation realm as me, you would have peed your pants standing in front of me." Zichen's words were harsh, but of course, they were also the truth. It was just that the two human soul cultivators might not be able to accept it. "Who do you think you are to dare speak to my father like that? There's no need for anyone else to do anything. I can kill all of you." Luo Long extended his finger and pointed at Long Rui. "I heard you're a direct descendant of the Lan family. Let me see what you're capable of. The 3.5 of you will start with you." He only knew that Long Rui was a direct descendant of the Lan family. He didn't know that Long Rui was the future successor of the Lan family. Lan Haoshou didn't tell them the truth, otherwise, they would have to think about it carefully. The two human souls had a mocking expression. They didn't immediately attack because they wanted Luo Long to hone his skills here. They also mistakenly believed that Long Rui was the strongest in the group. Long Rui glanced at Zichen. The latter nodded slightly, and Long Rui walked forward. At this moment, on a mountain peak more than 5 kilometers away, Lan Kangming couldn't help but frown. The battle situation was somewhat different from what he had expected. Under his arrangements, they were able to kill Long Rui's group with lightning speed. Now, Luo Long actually wanted to sharpen his sword. However, this was only a small interlude that wouldn't affect the final result, so he didn't care. The encirclement expanded to the back, leaving enough space for Luo Long to fight. Luo Long looked at Long Rui, who was walking forward, with a cold smile on his face. Direct descendant of the Lan family, today. Long Rui gently tapped his forehead. A blue ripple surged out and enveloped the surroundings. Luo Long's expression froze. His eyes were blank. This was the effect of his soul being affected. Swish! Long Rui quickly rushed forward as a cold light flickered in his eyes. Luo Long's soul was affected. His body was motionless, like a lamb waiting to be slaughtered. Zichen, who was watching the battle, noticed that there seemed to be an extremely faint light flashing on Luo Long's fingertip. It was a ring. The light seemed like a normal reflection. However, Zichen had a bad feeling in his heart. He blurted out, "Retreat." It was already too late. As he spoke, Long Rui had already charged before Luo Long. A light flew out from his fingertip and went straight for Luo Long's neck. At this moment, Luo Long, whose expression froze, revealed a mocking smile. At the same time, a sharp light, which he had already prepared, pierced towards Long Rui's chest. It was a short spear. It was as agile as a spirit snake. In the time it took for a spark to fly off a flint, Long Rui changed from attacking to defending. His body suddenly stopped and a blue protective light barrier appeared around him. The short spear moved forward. A strong aura surged at the tip of the spear. With a pa sound, Long Rui's protective light barrier shattered. Blood splattered everywhere. Long Rui retreated several meters away. There was a bloody wound on his shoulder. His face was pale, and there was fear in his eyes. If he did not have a strange feeling earlier and retreated early, there would be a large hole in his body. Trying to run? Luo Long smiled coldly. He pointed the short spear in his hand and went straight for Long Rui's forehead. Long Rui snorted coldly. Even if he did not use illusions, he was still strong enough. Just as the two attacks were about to collide, a light suddenly flew out from in front of Luo Long. It was a green python with two horns on its head. It bit towards Long Rui, who was close by. This was a sudden change that caught him off guard. Chapter 3794. Long Rui, who was already prepared to fight Luo Long with all his strength, did not expect his opponent to have such a move. Caught off guard, the python had already closed in. With a loud bang, a powerful shockwave spread out. The shockwave rolled into the distance, bringing with it a lot of smoke and dust. Long Rui's body retreated another 30 meters. This time, there was blood at the corner of his mouth. Although he had not lost, he had suffered a hidden loss and was slightly injured. The python turned back and wrapped around Luo Long's waist. Luo Long held the short spear in his hand and said disdainfully, "This is the strength of the Lan family's direct descendant? It's only a so-so. If it wasn't for your shameless schemes, how could Long Rui lose to you?" Lan Hongyi said angrily. "Schemes?" Luo Long snorted and said, "This is called strength, okay? Beauty, don't be anxious. After I kill them, I'll find a warm place to properly discuss this with you." "Bah, you think you're worthy?" Lan Hongyi's expression was disdainful. "You'll know soon enough whether I'm worthy or not." Luo Long held the spear and stepped forward. The aura of the soul realm erupted from his body. The python wrapped around his waist had a cold gaze. Poison Dragon Slash. A sharp attack appeared from the tip of the spear. It was like a dragon as it headed straight for Long Rui. Long Rui's body flickered with blue light. He, who had suffered a hidden loss earlier, knew very well that his opponent had come prepared and wanted to suppress him. Therefore, it was fine if he did not make a move. But if he did, he had to use his full strength. Longling. A complicated pattern appeared behind Long Rui. Blue feathers flew out from the pattern. The feathers were not soft at all. They were like arrows as they shot forward, bringing with them whistling sounds. They contained terrifying power. As the future successor of the Lan family, Long Rui's combat strength was not to be underestimated. Even without his illusion techniques, he was still the powerful Long Rui. Pong, pong, pong. The blue feathers exploded in front of him like blooming fireworks. Luo Long's body kept retreating. The python that was waiting for an opportunity to attack was also unable to get close. Long Rui formed a seal with both hands. Blue ripples that were like ripples on the surface of water constantly surged in the surroundings. The surrounding space was like boiling water. It was as if even vision was affected. Once again, confusion appeared in Luo Long's eyes. However, just as his consciousness started to hallucinate, the ring on his finger released a ray of light. This was something that Luo Haishan had specially prepared for him before coming here. It was for the sake of fighting against Long Rui. For this, he had spent a lot of blue crystal coins. Just as he regained consciousness, Long Rui's attack had already arrived in front of him. With a loud boom, Luo Long's body slid backwards. Long Rui's eyes were filled with regret. If it wasn't for that special ring, Luo Long, who had the title of Luo Wei City's #1 true soul stage expert, would have already died. His face was a little pale. These few moves had consumed a lot of energy for him. Luo Long retreated several meters. Even though he was fully prepared, he was still beaten back by his opponent. This made his expression turn ugly. "You're courting death." The short spear in his hand began to vibrate, and a strange light appeared in the eyes of the python at his waist. Long Rui clenched his fists tightly. If he had the folding fan, he would have been able to relax a little. As for the soul weapon not far away, he did not even glance at it. "Let me do it." Seeing that the battle had begun again, Zichen's voice suddenly rang out, "Save your strength to deal with the others." Long Rui turned his head to look at Zichen and nodded his head. Even though he was somewhat unwilling in his heart, he still knew the big picture. In a situation where he was clearly being targeted by Luo Long, it would be difficult for him to kill his opponent. Rather than wasting his energy fighting Luo Long, he might as well save his strength for the next battle. After all, there were still many enemies waiting for him to kill. Seeing Long Rui retreat, a strange light flashed across Luo Long's eyes. Earlier, he had noticed that Zichen's words were extremely harsh, but he did not pay much attention to it. But now, he actually made the strongest direct descendant of the Lan family retreat with a single sentence. Who exactly was he? At this moment, the others also had doubts in their hearts. This also included Lan Kangmang, who was watching this scene from afar. In his plan, Lan Rue was the strongest. As long as he dealt with Lan Rue, the others were nothing to fear. But now, Lan Rue actually listened to the words of an unremarkable brat. This was too suspicious. I don't care who you are, and I don't care if you're acting mysterious or not. How dare you provoke me? You're courting death. Seeing Zichun coming towards him, Luo Long's eyes flickered with murderous intent. Kill him. The python coiled around his waist immediately flew towards Zichun like a bolt of lightning. Zichun, who was walking forward, did not stop. His expression did not change much as he looked at the dangerous light that the python had turned into. The only thing that changed was his hand. With a flash of brilliance, a long staff with runes on its surface appeared. In the next moment, the long staff lit up with a radiance. Within that radiance, there were occasional flashes of lightning. He raised the long staff. Although his movements were not fast, he completed this action before the python arrived. His footsteps came to a stop. A sharp light suddenly appeared in his calm eyes. He raised the long staff and smashed it down. An ear-piercing whistling sound was heard in the air, as if some kind of object was being torn apart. It made people feel very uncomfortable. Then, the rumbling sound of thunder boomed. It was as deafening as the thunder from the ninth heaven. The long staff hit the python's head firmly, causing the python that had turned into a ray of light to reveal its true body. Its body, which was in the air, sank a few feet into the ground. Its body was still in the air, and the light around it was fluctuating. Zichun raised the long staff in his hand again and smashed it down. It brought out countless afterimages. The second thunderous roar sounded. A strong wave of air spread out in all directions like a spreading storm. The python's body continued to fall. Then, the third thunderous roar sounded. The injury was even more extensive. Countless lightning surged and shot in all directions. The glaring light illuminated the surroundings. After the thunderous roar, another roar came from the ground. The python's body finally smashed into the soil, leaving a deep and clear mark. 3 strikes. It was only 3 strikes. Luo Long's powerful python sank into the ground. It was unknown whether it was dead or alive. The surrounding empty soul and real soul existences all changed their expressions greatly. They were all shocked. They were just watching the battle. After hearing the 3 thunderous roars, their minds became unstable. It was hard to imagine what would happen if the 3 strikes landed on them. The expressions of the 2 human soul realm experts who were watching the show also changed. One of them looked at Luo Haishan. With a serious expression, Luo Haishan slowly shook his head, indicating that there was no need to intervene. Obviously, he still had confidence in Luo Long. Moreover, with them watching from the side, there should not be any accidents. However, after Zichen's 4th strike, Luo Haishan could no longer remain calm.